720 subscribers last night. 225 views. Oh, John messaged me last night, by the way. Max and Tim are beating pro drivers.
It's fucking boring. I don't want to know.
No, apparently they're beating pro drivers. I said, where are they beating pro drivers? He says, they beat you in Cloudon. Well, we're in GT4s, mate. It's a different kettle of fish. I've picked a slow car in a straight line. You can't compare Max beating me in that as anything.
Tim Benting had fucking barely any. You know, he had barely any weight on the car.
Oh, you just shot him. Yeah,
and
mate,
you all
honestly,
got caught up in a multiple car accident, and they managed to get away with it.
Yeah,
you know?
honestly, dude. It's just getting a bit boring with him now.
He's just expecting us to put weight on their car.
Yeah.
Where is he now? He's 2.2 off the pace. You know what? Let's put the weight on them. Oh wait, then you're still going to be 2 seconds off Richie Michelle. Should put weight on him. Oh, and you know what? You're then still a second behind Brian Craig. Let's put weight on him.
Yeah. Mate, technically this season, PM pointed this out, technically, John should have been in pro this year.
He should have, yeah. Then he would have been moaning even more that he's in the wrong category.
So, I think if he wants to carry on moaning, I think that's something to remind him.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, buddy, you should have been in pro this season. Good. Let's go on board Diego. Diego's wrong leg. Oh, nice. Right, Max is currently behind player, man. I can't see him lagging. Babe, just give me the Dr. Pepper out of the fridge, please. Did I not put one in? Oh, just bring us one in then. No, I thought I'd put one in there. Just pour us a glass a second, baby. That's alright. Confirm and go live. Of course, it didn't go in. I'm watching it. I'd have gone in if I wasn't watching. Hang on a minute. You back, watch it telly, look, and there's no fucking goals. Look, the minute we turn the game off, they score, like in Euros.
Give me a minute, I'm going upstairs.
I'm turning off.
Sounds like it's you problem.
What? Have you just spilt it? You've just spilt it, haven't you? Have you just spilt it?
Dripping down the outside of the cup.
She spilt it, Tony, down the outside of the cup. That is a live spillage report, Tony, if I've ever seen one. More excitement here. Thanks, baby. You can turn this telly off now, babe, as well. Remote. Sorry, I've got it. Tony will film me on the score in a moment, no doubt. You whistling at me, baby?
Oh, can you hear me?
No.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm just. Might be me mic on moving a second. I'm just putting my muffler on.
We won't hear him soon, will we?
Yes, babe.
You can quickly. Oh, that's not on right.
Nice. That's ooh, better.
$26 tonight, right?
Who's got a Bottas? Everyone in the first corner.
Dean did that last night.
So Dean will do it again tonight.
Yeah,
meant to be
I
26.
avoided it.
Meant to be 26, but Senna's struggling with his internet. Jack will obviously be in race 2, so 25 for race 1. Right, I'm going to head over to the comms box. Best of luck, Tony and PM.
Yep.
Tony!
Well, that GoFundMe page gone up to over £3,000. Yeah. So it's gone up to over £3,000. Even the local MP has made a donation.
Whoops, he was talking to me and I left. Whoopsie. Sorry, PN, I didn't mean to rudely leave.
You what, Dan?
I said he was talking to me and then I just left. Whoops.
Right.
Another reason why I've been napping for God knows how long.
Oh, you've been asleep?
Yeah, man, I've had a fucking severe headache.
Still not well?
No, just haven't drank enough today.
Ah, right. Fair play.
So I got a fucking migraine.
Quality.
Great, isn't it? I'm gonna do shit tomorrow. And I don't know where my new sim rig is. Fucking hurry up.
When was it meant to be delivered? Today?
It's either today or tomorrow, and I know at this precise stage it's in Glasgow.
Ah, so unless it's being shipped sort of overnight.
I haven't looked since, so it might be already like shit.
If you unbox a Sim Magic steering wheel, it's Bozzy's.
2 for the price of 1.
Oh, dear. Right.
The stupid thing is, I messaged Dad. He was like, "Oh yeah, you know, you can send me the photos of the sim rig, and I'll go and speak to Trogs, who's the guy, one of the guys we know who does a lot of welding, and he was seeing get him to fix it." And I'm like, "Okay, sure." Sent him all the photos, and yeah, he hasn't responded to me since. He was like, I'll get it sorted ASAP."
Oh, for your old one?
For the one that's here. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it gone now then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm currently using a speaker to
prop it up.
keep the to keep the pedals up. But
I'm gonna load John's stream. Twitch will go live in a minute. Get rid of some practice.
oh, we got rain tomorrow.
No, yours looks brighter than today. What did Mike set it as?
Oh, fuck off. Can it be cooler? 'Cause
Today's
it's
the
too
worst day. But your tomorrow is a degree cooler, but less cloud level and less randomness. There's a possible chance of maybe a small shower tonight. Because of the thunderstorms knocking around. He's got the cloud level at 0.4, randomness 3, 27 degrees, whereas tomorrow, cloud level at 0.15, randomness 1, rain 0, so that's pretty much nice and steady. That's actually cooler than what it was set to for GT4s as well, so 3 degrees cooler than GT4s. 4 degrees cooler. No, 3 degrees cooler. But the cloud level not as thick. Right. Move live in 5, 4. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to SimPlay Motorsport for some GT3 action. It is the Hungaroring this week that we come to take on after the GT4s last night with some fantastic action. It is a Pro-Am turn, and it is the drivers to take to the Pro-Am circuit that are going to try and get you fired up for tonight's racing. What action we have. I'm your host, Matthew Duffin, joined in the box, as always, on a Wednesday night by Dan Davis. Dan, good evening. Hungaroring provided plenty of action last night in the GT4s. We're expecting much of the same tonight as well in the GT3s.
Yeah, definitely so. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see you all once again here at SimPlay Motorsport. And yeah, I'm looking forward to another exciting night's worth of racing. We got a lot more cloud cover here tonight. The bikini isn't out this evening. Not as hot as it was at Formula One. Literally, the weekend just gone. But the GT4s did bring some action, kind of reminiscence of Valtteri Bottas playing 10-pin bowling. But nonetheless, we are here ready for the action for the Pro-Ams. And we've got a stacked grid tonight, Matthew.
We have got a stacked grid tonight. 26 cars possibly for race 2. Maybe down to 25 because Senna's having internet problems. Obviously, the Jackal will be in for race 2, not 1. We're also waiting for Dean Wysocki and I believe one other driver, not quite sure who. It's going to be a fantastic night's worth of racing. There's a chance tonight for Ferrari to take its 25th race win as a manufacturer. That in the hands of Tim Venting or maybe Richie Michelle. Very possible at the moment. The championship standings, though, look a little like this. There's still over 565 points up for grabs, and it is the Max Mulder who's leading the way at the moment. 63.5 points clear of Diz, with Tim Venting now up into 3rd place. 79 behind John Gooday. 99.5 behind in P4. He's being caught by Richie Michelle as well. That gap's close between them two. Justin Winters P6 with Robert Smith down in 7th. Esteban Burrabex is 8th with Brian Craig 9th. Sam P10, P Williams in 11th from Dennis Hansen, who is P6. Naval Gomez not here tonight. He's P13. Diego Flores P14 with Darren Bell in 15th place. Then it's Mirko Ritchie from Fat Bloke with DJ Phil Green, Cranky Duckhead, Mark Tucker, Kieran Argent, Senna Herwiser from Michael Graham, Micro J's, John Andrews, The Jackal, Lund, Dean Wysocki, Andrew Taylor, Nuke Quaist, Romeo, and still Yetzi Oliver and MB Pitts. In terms of that Constructors' Championship, well over 1,000 points up for grabs. And it is BSP Racing who lead the way, 212.5 points clear of the current defending champions, Greasy Bandits Racing. Richie Coursers P3 from Stage 2 Motorsport. Team Merlo P5 with FBR P6. FSO Junior Racing Team are P7 from Vorta Racing in P8. They are the first of the independents. Forever Forward just behind them with Greasy Bandits Racing Junior. And then there is a change now for Senna. He has been ejected from the BSP team, we are being told, and he has now changed that name to be under the... let me just find it somewhere. It is the Cool Shop Racing Independent. And then at the bottom of the pack, the Retroactive Racing team of Robert Smith and Diz, who became a team very late on. As we know, McLaren won that Manufacturers' Championship the other week. But Dan, Hungaroring, tight and twisty in the middle sector. And then it's going to be fantastic to see what the drivers can do down that start straight. You... a bit of a pro around this circuit. In terms of the most successful drivers around here, you've had 1 pole position and 3 wins to your name. 1 quite famously in the Retia.
Yeah, back in the days of when we had AM class, due to obviously PS4 not allowing us to have as a bigger size of grid as we have. But that was reverse grid championship, and I only joined in mid-season, so yeah, and I said to the boys, I'll give it the Retia a go. No one drives it, and I understand why no one drives it, because it is a dog. How I won here is the completely opposite track for it. I do not know. Be very good at Monza, but terrible here because this circuit relies heavily on downforce and corner speed. Yes, Sector 1 is pretty much a long straight and a couple of slow corners. Yes, and again, this for Sector 2, but it's actually the middle sector where all that time is won or lost. And that's why the McLaren, the Ferrari, the BMW, and the Porsche should be relatively strong around here. This should be a dominant circuit for those cars. Definitely not the Retia. It's surprising, though, Matthew, as you say, saying about how I'm quite good at this circuit, but yet doing a bit of testing this week, I'm finding that I'm struggling a lot around here. The circuit is not really suiting the Lamborghini at all. So I feel like whoever's in the Lamborghini this week is going to struggle. But who knows? I might be wrong. Things might change. But for one thing's for sure, it's the BSP boys on a roll at the minute. They've been strong and mighty. The other thing that seems to be on a roll at the minute, which seems to keep frustrating us a little bit, is the disconnections on a Pro-Am night. We've had 2 disconnections this season. Let's fingers crossed we don't have another one tonight, as Diego Flores, we're going to be keeping a heavy eye on him, as his internet is way above the ping at the minute, and we'll see how he gets on. And we've recommended the drivers do be cautious around him, and he's going to be cautious with others. We do not want to say, no, you can't race. But at the same time, he does have to be cautious for other cars. But Matt, if I was here right now and I was able to pick any car, I would strongly be looking at the McLaren for this one.
Yeah, you said in the week that the McLaren looks the good car for this week. We'll get the BOP system up for us as well. But the Ferrari looking mighty. The BMW sat 7th and 8th. Porsche a little off the bat. The Nissan and Michael, he possibly going to struggle. And the Astons don't look great in Sam and John Goody's hands at the moment, do they? But as we look at the BOP, the Aston Martin would lose 18 kilograms of weight. So that's possibly why they're not looking very strong at the minute. For the BMW, it would only gain 8 kilograms, suggesting that it's not a bad overly powered car. It's quite a neutral car on this circuit. The Ferrari 296 gains 18 kilograms, showing how strong it is. The Lamborghini, who we're seeing Paul Williams, the top Lamborghini at the minute, that would gain 13 kilograms. So again, just kind of stating that the Lamborghini, yeah, it's not as good as the Ferrari, but it's better than the BMW. And the McLaren would gain 23 kilograms, showing its dominance around here. The Porsche would gain 17. So we're seeing Porsche quite up there at the moment. So again, just stating that Porsche is technically the 3rd best car if you look at the BOP. The Mustang had gained 5 around here as well, and the highest Mustang driver at the moment, we don't have one in, so Kieran Argent's the other driver that we're missing, as well as Dean Wasaki, and there is no Naval Gomez today. The Nissan would lose 28 kilograms of ballast. That shows why Michael's probably sat P12 at the moment, a bit less of an advantage for the Aston Martin over that Nissan. And the Honda Cranky Duckhead will lose 14 kilograms, so just really showing that them 3 cars are probably why they are where they are in the standings at the moment, because they are not in a position of looking strong. But that Ferrari, that McLaren, that Porsche, that Lamborghini, looking like the cars to sort of be in at the moment. Trying to find you a car on the circuit. We'll go to Dean, who is out there at the minute. Kieran Argent just gets himself in, so it is just Dean Wasaki. And Senna would make the 25. Obviously, Senna struggling for internet. Jack will be in to make the 26 in a few moments' time for race 2, obviously.
Obviously, Matthew, you know firsthand last night racing in the Ginetta. How tricky is it to get into a rhythm in this circuit? I know obviously there was a lot going on in the GT4s. There's a lot of drama, a lot of pushing and shoving. But there is some form of flow to the circuit. You kind of need to be in a groove around here, don't you? That
middle sector especially. If we watch now DJ Phil, who's just coming up through turn 4, it's from this corner here at turn 5 where you kind of really need to be in that groove. We'll just try and get an onboard shot for you guys. As you can see, DJ Phil coming out to the chicane. This is where it's a little easier in this middle section. Quite a slow part of the circuit. Run as much of the curve as you can. But it's this section here now, the first left-hander. This is the flowing part of the circuit. Get this right. Puts you into the right-hander straight away. Need to get that right. Try and use the runoff at every opportunity. And then the left-hander. And it's the consistency through this part of the circuit, for me, is where the time is won and lost, as well as that last sector, them 3 corners at the end, this right-hander that DJ Phil's coming down to, and the subsequent 2 corners after that, for me, Dan, is where the time is won and lost. But that flow is all in that middle sector. Easy to outbrake yourself at the end and at sector 1. It's that middle sector where the rhythm needs to kick in that you really need to will gain or lose time throughout your qualifying laps that we'll see later on in tonight's action.
Indeed, yeah, indeed. And just answering Ben's question, yes, that is the mighty Retier with its low suspension and flaring up some sparks. Yeah, I mean, this, like you say, Matt, this circuit is very much a circuit you need to be in the flow. And also, I think it's a circuit that is incredibly hard to overtake. Yes, we had the GT4s here racing last night, and let's be honest, the GT4s are good little cars. They're low powered, they're easy to get a little bit more like in the fight, but they really did struggle to pass one another, especially the Ginettas. They looked like they were struggling a lot around the first and final sector. But again, like I said, you may have the car set up for the middle sector, but when you get to the final few sectors where it's all about that grunt, the likes of the Nissan and all can come back and attack. But turn one, I would say, and turn two, possibly really your best overtaking opportunities, and possibly into the final few corners as well.
If you're going off of the GT3 cars, 100%. Turn 1, 2, maybe into that final sector is your best overtaking opportunities. Last time the GT4, there was a chance to have a few looks here and there elsewhere, but that was a story for another day. It's going to be an interesting one to see out here. Nodine was talking to get in, so that will bunch everybody from John Andrews down up one spot on the grid, and no Senna as well. So wherever Senna was meant to be on the grid, he's also been bumped. They have also been bumped up a spot, and I can actually run through where Senna would have been. That would have been where is he now on my list? He would have been P5. So everybody so John Andrews and Michael up one, everybody from Dean down up two on the grid. Then it's Romeo who will lead the pack away from John Andrews in second place. Michael will now start from third with Dean in P4. Kieran Argent goes from fifth place. Good opportunity from Argent there. You have to say, yes, he's got in the lobby late, but possibly a guy that's got the pace over the other cars in front. Mark Tucker goes from sixth with Cranky Duckhead seventh. DJ Phil is eighth with Mirko Ricci ninth. Darren Bell is 10th from Diego Flores. Dennis Hansen P12 from Paul Williams 13th. Sam is P14 with Brian Craig 15th. Borough Bex P16. Robert Smith goes from 17th. Justin Winter, Richie Michelle, John Gooday, Tim Venting, Max Mulder, and because Dean and Senna haven't been able to take to the grid, it's put this to the back.
That's not good. But
I am just going to double check that down while you speak, but it has put with them two not turning up, it has put it to the back. So I'll let you carry on.
Well, either way, while Matt's investigating that, first things first, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's currently in the stream right now. And if you are currently watching the stream, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We are slowly bumping up the subscribers. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers if we possibly can. So guys, keep telling your friends, keep telling your families, get everyone involved. And if you do want to be a part of the racing here at SimPlay Motorsport, it is very simple and easy to do. Head over to our Discord, get yourself signed up on the Sim Grid, and then all you need to do is 6 valid laps of a hot stint on Barcelona, and we can get you into your categories. The other thing as well, while you're at it, head over into the description and have a look at our fantastic sponsors, our two major sponsors, that is Design Manchester, producers of vinyl graphics, laser engraved gifts, mugs, printed clothing, and much more, including SimPlay merchandise, where we're going to get a t-shirt made eventually soon saying it's coming home in the English colours. Also, while you're at it, head over to Audiosport, manufacturers of Volkswagen T4 audio solutions, styling products, and all of those wonderful things for your T4, T5 transporter modifications, and head over to www.audiosport.co.uk and on their Facebook group as well. Also, while you're at it, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, Twitter not as much, but we're on TikTok, Instagram. Follow our pages, and also on Facebook as well, so you can keep up to date on what's going on here at SimPlay Motorsport. I do try my best to keep up to date with it. As the guys now get into a 2x2 formation, we're about to get underway here for the first race of GT3 action, Matt.
Yeah, we are about to get underway for that first race of this action, and there's many more things to come this season, plenty of GT3s. Now I'm just looking down, can you just confirm, John Andrews on my screen has got front end damage? Looks like it's scuffed and bent on the bonnet.
Yep.
So I'm not sure where he's been off here at the moment then. He's definitely been off somewhere, because through that last sector beam it's put him behind Michael, and John Andrew is starting second place. So here we go then.
Where is Michael?
Michael's in the Nissan just alongside him behind Romeo. It's a drive-through penalty for Dennis Hansen. That's not the start he wanted. It's green and go though for round 15 of the season, and a great run, long run down to turn 1. Are we going to see any skittles or temping bowling today? It is a great bit of moving in the background. DJ Phil's round. That's Diz and Robert Smith that I think have also made contact as well, and they're also in the wall. And both of them two on a night that Diz has a qualifying ban. He's already found problems, but Romeo leads from Michael. Argent's trying to attack that of Mirko Ritchie, I believe that is, who is up the order already. So I'm not sure where that is. Dan, what's contacts has happened here?
I can't actually describe. Turn 2, DJ Phil involved in more contact once again, a multiple car pile-up, and Max Mulder to the back of the pack. He's literally just been, and DJ Phil's dropped it again, and he's literally, Max at the back has literally just been rolling his way through, surviving the lap, and yeah, multiple cars with multiple damage, and Esther and Borough Bex once again involved in all the chaos. I think Diz was involved in all sorts of chaos, but manages to get ahead of Max Mulder by quite a few cars as well. So Max, being cautious and careful, has actually hindered him. Meanwhile, Romeo and Michael have disappeared. Argent's dropped behind the cranky duckhead, who's having a solid drive in the Honda.
Yeah, while he was explaining what happened there, Argent tried to go around the outside of turn 4 of that of Mirko Ritchie, and he went very wide, had to yield the place, and Cranky took advantage of that. So Argent, who's struggling through that middle sector, we know that it's that Mustang's a big heavy car to turn, can use though its massive straight line advantage against Mirko Ritchie and Cranky Duckhead in the Honda. The two leaders have already got away here, Romeo and Michael in a not very favoured Nissan. Sorry, Dan.
I was going to say, speaking of grunt, the Nissan is close to the Porsche going down the main straight, so Michael could have a very strong opportunity going into turn 1. We know the Porsche struggles in a straight line, but it looks like Romeo's got enough of a leeway to get away. Meanwhile, I thought I saw Dizzle. Yes, Diz has had more contact with someone.
So Diz has had more contact with someone. We're currently watching Dennis Hansen, who's got a drive-through penalty, go up the inside of Mark Tucker into turn 1. Room given. Kieran Argent's got past Mirko Ritchie, so he's done one, and Dennis Hansen makes his way past Tucker. In the background, that's Tim Venting as well, going toe-to-toe, getting past that of Darren Bell, it looks like, as did John Gooday. And maybe John Gooday just tried to work his way through the front of the field. There's Robert Smith with a bit of damage. Where is Dizzle? Down the order at the back of the pack. John Andrews into the pits a lap earlier than the pit window, but obviously he's got that front end damage. And Dan, Michael's straight line grunt to the Nissan worked, but it didn't allow him to get past at the moment. He's trailing behind that Porsche, and this is where the Porsche is going to be mighty over that Nissan.
Yeah, it is, but to be fair, Michael's sticking with him. Michael looks like he could abuse the curbs just as much as the Porsche can, if not better. So Michael looking quite good in the GTR. Admit, these two long gone, as the Honda of the cranky duckhead is holding up Argent, who's still doing quite well in the Mustang, just to hang on to the back of him. But Mirko Ritchie and Dennis Hansen sitting there for the McLaren quadruple, as they're all trying to find their way around Dean, who seems to be the cork of the ball. Tim Venting's got around the outside of John Gooday.
Just watching that one, that's an absolutely fantastic move from Tim Venting. John Gooday just didn't have the pace, and Tim's a little slow behind Dean. He's having a look. John Gooday had a look as well, but it was only a look. It was nothing more than that. Tim looks like he's got a bit of front-end damage on his car, and Tim looked great last night. Again, he stood in nobody's way. He made sure he could get through the pack and won that second race in the GT4s. John Gooday losing out there, and now the Nissan can once again, Godzilla as they call it in GTAs, just stretch its legs down the start straight. And can he look to get on the back of that Porsche a little more than normal? No, he can't. No inroads being made. Dennis Hansen still doesn't pit, and Kieran Argent with the cranky duckhead, Dan, clearly wanting some clear air. Straight in, there you go. As does John Gooday, as does Robert Smith, as does Max Mulder, as does Richie Michelle. John Andrews still in the pits. Borough Bex comes in. And I tell you what, there is a gaggle of cars in the pit lane, at least half the grid going. And Michael, like Dan says, having a look on the exit of turn 2 at turn 3. Can't get it done. Can he get the run and momentum up the hill to turn 4? Not known for its overtaking. And no, he's going to slot back in behind.
Oh, Romeo, though, had a
oh, they tapped! They tapped! Romeo's in the wall. Dennis Hansen's now going to come through with Mirko Ritchie. And Romeo gets back going. Damage now on that car. Where is Michael? Has he yet rejoined? He has in a safe place. Oh no, he slid on the grass. That's Darren Bell and Dean, and that is Sam, who's going to come round the outside. Now he returns off the racing line, and Michael with damage to the front end of that car. Definite contact though down between the two of them.
I don't know really. I think it was tight. I think Romeo had a twitch and Michael had to respond.
Kieran Argent has jumped Cranky Duckhead And John Gooday's been jumped by Max. Oh, what's going off here with Max and John Gooday? Out the pit lane. I saw John Gooday was flashing him. Cranky Duckhead's going to come up the inside. Max Mulder's also got through on John Gooday as well. So John losing out a couple of places here at the moment. And Max Mulder up a few more. So there has been changes in the pit lane.
There has indeed, and Max got a little bump by John there as he came to the exit of the pit lane and came to the stopping zone, and John gave him a slight tap. Dennis Hansen in for his drive-through, and he caught Romeo pretty quickly. Romeo with back-end damage. Mirko Ricci is in the pound seat at the minute. He's looking very good at it. He's now the one pressurising as Tim Venting goes fastest overall as he's now trying to attack Brian Craig heading down to turn number 1.
Yeah, he does indeed. Justin Winter with the damage on the front of that Porsche. Michael's having a look up the inside, and just a little look from Michael there. As we've got Dean and Sam into the pit lane. Diz as well with DJ Phil is also in. But Kieran Argent looks like he's got a decent gap over Max Mulder at the moment. That is pretty much Dennis Hansen's race done. He's going to have to go again. But at the minute, Kieran Argent, Max Mulder, John Gooday all in a nice little gap. Robert Smith is a little further off the back of what appears to be Borough Becks, who didn't, Dan, repair his damage in his pit stop. He got it in, got it out, and did his stop.
Oh, Argent's gone very wide, by the way. Very, very wide. And Max is getting a little bit of time on him. It's going to be interesting though, Matt, to see where Mirko, Ricci and Romeo are going to feed into all this, because obviously we've got Tim Venting in the middle of this scrap as well. Argent and Max really should be an advantage here because they've got the clean air, they've got no one in their way. They're undercutting right now, but sometimes the overcut works as Argent struggles to get the Mustang stopped at turn 1, manages to do so, and I think Argent's still possibly questioning if he wanted the Mustang or not now, as this seems to be a bit of a dog towards the end of the season.
The problem you're going to have, Dan, and the problem Argent's going to have, should I say, is he tends to overdrive when he's in a good position. We've seen it season after season, Project Cars 2 and ACC, and Formula 1 for that matter, where Kieran Argent will overdrive a car. He's in a situation where he's in the pound seat. Tim Venting going up the inside of Brian Craig. Later on the brakes, gets the Ferrari hooked on that inside line, and through he goes. It's Justin Winter pits as Michael was side by side with him.
Well.
But Kieran Argent has that tendency to overdrive a car. That is something he doesn't need to do here tonight. He's got the straight line advantage over all the other cars. His Mustang's so big, he can just defend in that middle sector and take it easy. Slow in, fast out. The problem for Kieran Argent is himself.
It is indeed. Meanwhile, Diz had major damage. He's repaired it, but it's now put him a lap down to the leading cars, so he has to get out of Tim Venting's way. As he does so, one of his championship rivals has now lapped him. Now what Diz needs to do is just sit on his back bumper and kind of use him now to tow him round, but Diz's race is already ruined. He's got a qualifying ban coming up for next race as well, so really he's got to figure out a strategy to come from the back to the front in the hour-long race.
And this is what I'm saying about Kieran Argent. Look, Max Mulder on the back of him. Romeo is in the pits. He's going to be jumped by Justin Winter. But watch how close Max Mulder is to Argent now. He can just keep it tighter through that final corner. Argent's got to be a bit more cleverer here. But now that Mustang, regardless of the slipstream of the McLaren, look, he's gapping that McLaren bit by bit down the start straight. Doesn't really need to defend into turn 1. He's got the gap over Max. You just see he's not quite fully on the racing line. Manages to get it hooked onto the curb this time around. They both jump Romeo, and I believe they jumped Justin Winter. Yes, they did. But Kieran Argent now has to use his noggin and has to make sure he plays this Mustang as wise as possible. You don't need to defend that much from Max, because so far on these higher speed sections of the circuit, look, Max making a mistake in that dirty air, and a lot of dirty air from the Mustang. Kieran's been able to gap him, so he doesn't need to defend too much. He's just got to play this smart. Borough Beckstead, with all that damage, by the way, fastest lap of the race.
Tim Venting has dropped to he's dropped to 7th.
Oh, he's got major damage. He's got that bonnet's lifted. That bonnet is lifted, and he is straight into the pit lane.
Okay, replay time.
While Michael, Mirko Ricci's got damage on the front of his car, Dan, as well.
Okay, I'm working on it.
Now, where's Diz? Diz looks okay. Diz looks like he's got away scot-free. Tim Venting and Brian Craig into the pits, and back to Argent, who's got over just under a second. Now to Max Mulder, and so far so good. If you are Kieran Argent, you're doing exactly what you need to do.
Yeah, you do, exactly, as I'm trying to find what happened to... No, I see what it is. So Mirko Ricci had his own moment So Mirko Ricci dropped it just after the chicane, and Tim literally had nowhere to go as Mirko Ricci unsafe rejoin and dropped straight in front of Tim. That is unfortunate for Tim there.
That is unfortunate for Tim. That's going to help the likes of Dizzle out. Brian Craig's pit stop is done. He's on his way out. Tim Venting still in the pits, and Kieran Argent just caught by Max a little bit from the end of sector, beginning of the end of sector 2 to the start line. But this is where Argent can just stretch his legs once more in that straight line area of the circuit. Mirko Ricci under pressure now from the Nissan of Michael at the moment, who is so far doing a good job in P3 after his little incident with Romeo. He's looking up the inside of Mirko Ricci, who's carrying damage. No job there. I think Mirko's dropped the rear again. Round he goes, comes back onto the track a little safer this time. Tim Venting, Dan, still in the pits, and I'm just looking to see who's by the start line. Everybody at the minute has gone through, and here comes Diz, Dan, who was a lap down to Tim Venting a moment ago. He's now going to pass Tim Venting. Richie Michel, I believe, has also got past. No, he's not. In fact, what happened to Richie Michel? He's 22nd and even further back than Diz.
Meanwhile, Max Mulder is pushing hard against Argent right now. He's up the inside in the middle sector. He couldn't be any further up the back end of that Mustang if he tried right now. But Argent defending for his life here. And Loretti showed you can defend around here, even though it's not the best in the corners and mighty in the straights. The Mustang just needs to hang in there. Argent just needs to make that Mustang incredibly wide.
That's what I'm saying, Dan. Clever. The awareness of the driver is what's going to win Argent this race today.
He just needs to keep it cool. He's just got 8 minutes to survive, 8 minutes to get around the Hungaroring. And like most the F1 drivers say, or the strategists they want to win the race at the slowest pace possible. Yep. Not the fastest. They want to do it the slowest. So Argent, all he has to do is make sure he hits his braking zones, make sure he covers Max off in the long straights, and Max can't really do anything about it. This is the problem with the Hungaroring. It's so difficult to overtake around here.
It's an oversized go-kart circuit. I've always described Hungaroring as that.
It's a Monaco without walls.
Yeah, it's not as tight as Alton Park, but that middle sector is scarily tight. And look through the corners. Max gets on the back of Argent, but this stretch up towards turn 4, Argent's just going to stretch his legs, and he knows Max is clever enough to not make the move at turn 4, because it's not going to happen. Argent, like you say, has to hit them braking points and has to get it done. You can see Max looks a little loose on the rear of Argent coming through the corners. Let the car roll through, let the car rotate. You barely have to defend around this circuit. Max going to try for the move up the inside of the chicane, and he just bumps Argent wide, and that's the problem with the Hungaroring. Argent there had to cut the circuit, but Max forces him off the road.
Yeah, that was Max's fault. He forced another car off track. He missed his braking zone and forced the car wide. That was just pure frustration there from Max Mulder. He's trying to find a way through. To be honest, John Goudet and Justin Winter for the Greasy Bandits duo, they're scoring decent points here, and they just got to keep it facing the right way. And right now, Argent's doing them a favour because it's holding these two up, and they're slowly starting to creep back onto them.
They are, and Justin Winter's just got past John Goudet. We saw the end of that. Mark Tucker is on the back of Cranky Duckhead. There's a train behind it.
Argent's got deep.
Romeo is on the back of Dean as well. Argent's gone deep. That's allowed Max to have run. This is the problem for Argent. You cannot afford to run deep. He's now going to try and outbrake Max Mulder. Holds it tight, and this is where that Mustang's going to use him. Max spins him into the wall. Very fortunate bounce off the wall for Argent, but Max has definitely turned him in the wall there.
I think Justin Winter, John Goudet are possibly on for a race win here.
I think you're right.
That was a clear frustrational tap there from Max Mulder, and around Argent went. Max not wanting to yield either, so this could have massive effects here.
Huge one, and Argent's got some big damage from that. Robert Smith back into the pit lane. Tim Ventic down in 20th. Dizzle and Darren Bell have had contact, and Diz is in the wall.
Oh no, where's Tim Venting? He's only
there.
now arriving.
He's there.
He's now arriving, so that's another couple of points for Tim Venting, but he clears Darren Bell, but not Dizzle. So it's all going to plan for Max. He did not need to force that. He did not need to force Bassett and Argent, because his two championship rivals, other than John Goudet, are down the order. And he could afford to take. Max has had a moment.
He could afford to take a separate, a second place there in that one. And like Richard Beasley saying in the chat there, too busy, too desperate to win. I agree there. You saw him push Argent wide at the chicane. You saw him put Argent into the wall. Max Mulder there just a little too over the top for my liking in this race. He's got to think championship, Dan. He's got to play it smarter. Second place is great points when Diz and Tim Venting are down the pack. Argent 4.5 behind him at the moment. John Gooday is the man on the back of Kieran Argent now, possibly overdriving that car. He's gone deep now at the last two corners.
Yeah, he has, and I think it's also the front end damage that Argent's carrying on that Mustang yeeted into the wall, and Max is going to be possibly going up to see the stewards after that one, because I guarantee Argent will put that one in.
How fortunate of a bounce was it, by the way, off the wall, straight back onto the track, facing the right way, and off Argent went. I've never seen a much fortunate bounce.
Not as good as. Not as good as an unfortunate spin that Sebastian Vettel had at that corner one time, and he just nailed the throttle and managed to avoid the wall. Yeah, Argent at the minute still able to use the grunt to stay ahead of the Greasy Bandit steward, but they're struggling compared to Brian Craig, who's the man on the move now.
Yeah, Justin Winter's got damage on the front end, so he's now holding John Gooday up at the moment. And less of that, Michael. Brian, this is allowing Brian Craig. John Gooday just looks like he's struggling slightly with Justin Winter's damage, and that's allowing Brian Craig to have the chance. Diego Flores, did he come out the pits in 6th? No, he did not. He's down the order. Dennis Hansen is as well, so that's going to update Michael P6. Heck of a drive at the moment. I suspect we may see him in the steward room as well for that contact with Romeo. That's going to be an interesting one.
Tim Venting and Diz are going at it.
To keep our eyes on, let's drop down to Tim Venting and Diz. Tim looking up the inside of Diz. Now, Tim's got to be careful here. He'll not want to have a repeat of what's just happened between his teammate and Kieran Argent.
No, you don't, but I think Tim's a little bit more patient, but obviously this is a championship rival that he's up against, so it's more you do have to be cautious because you do not want to be giving penalties away, but meanwhile Tim Venting's right underneath the BMW there.
He is right underneath, and he needs a better run. You need to have that move done before the braking zone. Tim's going to have to wait another day to get past Dizzle there. And one thing we forgot to mention, Dan, how easy it is to do what Tim and Diz has just done. Run wide on the curb and pick up track limit warnings. Drive through penalties could be a nightmare around this circuit. As where's Max Mulder? He starts lap 9 of this race. Probably going to be looking at a 10 lap, maybe 11 lap in these GT3s. Tonight. On to Brian Craig. Justin Winters now gaining on the back of Kieran Argent. That's down to 1 second. Dennis Hansen trying to get it. If I know, he's got past Dean, so he's got through there. Romeo's got past Mirko, Ritchie and Dean as well. And Romeo is right on the rear wing of that of Dennis Hansen. We've got Dean and Diego Flores having a look at side by side each other further back on the straight. Romeo, is he going to go for that lunge up the inside? No, he does not. What about Dean and Diego Flores? Flores on that inside line. Dean turns in, but Diego is there. And they both come through unharmed, and Diego gains the place. Great move from Diego up the inside. Back to Tim Ventic, who has got past his.
There we go, there's another point for Tim there, getting past the championship rival, and fastest lap for him as well. So Diz, when he thought he was going well, it's then suddenly gone wrong with him and Darren Bell coming together. So I feel like the stewards might be a bit busy this evening. Romeo still stuck behind Dennis Hansen, lost some time by those things, and that fight seems to have neutralised a little bit, as the main look now is to see how much time Justin Winter can gain on Argent. He's made it down to 9/10, so the Porsche looking quite strong here and is right on the rear wing of Argent. But this is where you got the slowest car in a straight line versus the fastest car in a straight line,
and this is possibly what's going to save Argent by being that bit slower through the middle sector, keeping Justin Winter exactly where he is. The problem for Argent is he's not going to want to repeat what's just happened with Max, and the car being quicker through the middle sector and giving him a little tap up the rear. And leader starts the final laps. That is Max Mulder, who starts that final lap. And so far, so good for, well, you have to say, for Kieran Argent and Justin Winter. Damage on their cars. The fact they're still hanging on for second and third, and a clear of John Gooday is absolutely phenomenal. And look at that, Kieran Argent just stretched his gap over that of Justin Winter. Brian Craig not close enough. Brian Craig and John Gooday, they're allowing Michael into this fight on the last lap. But really, you imagine that's going to be it. Tim Ventic drive through penalty!
Track limits. Oh, Justin Winter's gone way off. Justin Winter's gone deep into turn 2, and he's manages to collect it, but Argent went deep as well. John Gooday doesn't really gain anything.
Well, John Gooday doesn't gain anything, but Diz is going to gain an extra place. Tim straight in. Darren Bell is going to be there to pick up the pieces as well. Richie Michelle's only at turn 1, so he's not going to gain anything. Neither will Robert Smith or John Andrews. But Tim Venting will be back to 20th, and Diz will be back to 18th, and that's really all they're going to do. Max Mulder coming through that middle sector. All of a sudden, you've got Argent, Justin, John, Brian, and Michael. 5 cars for second place at this moment. One driver makes a mistake, you feel it's game over for them. Justin Winter just got on the gravel. Now Argent's got 2 more corners really, and then he can sort of look at how he uses his brakes and hanging on into this. Here comes Kieran Argent through that middle sector.
Max into the final sector.
We are going to go back to Max now. And it's been a story of podiums for Max Mulder. He's not been off the podium since way back at Kota, when he had a dreadful round. He's been on the podium every race so far, bar 3. And he's going to take another race win. I imagine he's going to be in the steward's room at the end of this race. But Max Mulder wins this one. Kieran Argent is then going to come home for what will be a second place. Will it? He's just gone a little deep. Surely can use that power of the Mustang out the corner. He does. It's going to be second place for him. Justin Winter will come home for 3rd. 4th for John Good. A great race for them too. Brian Craig will take a P5. Michael down the order. Down on my list. P6 for him. Sam will come across the line. P7. Borough Bex will take P8. Cranky Duck, a solid P9 for Cranky.
Sorry, that's a great comeback for Esteban Borough Bex.
Yeah.
In lap 1, he was nowhere.
Didn't repair his damage either. So
no. So
really
Dennis Hansen in 10th, Romeo in 11th. Diego, even with the terrible internet, finishing in 12th place. Marco in 13th. Paul Williams 14th. Dean 15th. Mark Tucker in 16th. DJ Phil coming home in a battered Lamborghini in 17th place position. Richie Michelle finishing the race in 21st. Robert Smith 22nd. Diz will finish in 18th. Darren Bell will finish in 20th. And Tim Venting 20th, with John Andrews in 23rd. Tim Venting taking fastest lap of the race though. Max possibly going to the stewards, but he gained enough time. He's got 13 seconds to Arjun, so even if the stewards did think that he deserved 10 seconds added on, he should have enough of an advantage. And sometimes in Formula 1 they do that, make sure they build the gap so they can avoid a penalty coming their way. But either way, Max Mulder takes the race win, and a solid drive from Arjun and Justin Winter.
Solid drive indeed. Richie Michelle 21st, Robert Smith 22nd. John Andrews has just finished down in 23rd, as Dan said, and there is no bottom on this. I believe everybody's routes are now in and calculated, and we though will take a very short break and be back in a few moments' time with that second race. And we are clear. I know someone who's going to be spitting feathers.
John Goudet.
Yeah, 100%. Because Max was too quick.
Well, he does like this track, so...
John's just gone ahead of Tim Wentink. Funny that. No, I think Argent is... You know what Argent can be like. I think he's going to be absolutely livid.
Of course he is.
Rightly so, I feel.
Of course he is. Yeah. And Max knew that he possibly might get a penalty, so he's fucked off. Which, if we were staying consistent, he should get 10 seconds.
Yep.
Which he's built enough of a gap to keep hold of the win.
What penalty points is Max on?
Don't know.
Oh, it'd be a quali ban. Because it's going to be 1 penalty point, innit?
At least.
So it'd be a quali ban. Nah, the question is, does Argent also put the chicane in? Which I don't think much would come of that. Max, Argent kept their place. Oh, right, just go run to the toilet. Before I go to the toilet, have you just seen Tim in the general chat?
He just put fucking amazing, didn't he?
He put people miss brain cells, holy shit, went out the window, fucking amazing. Brainless people, man. Mike's had sticker ticketing. Oh yeah, 'cause that's going to give me my win back. Welcome to my world, Timmy boy, from Diz. On to the next one, shit happens. Tim, reverse grid is the biggest joke, I keep driving every week. You know. You sign up to a league with them rules, you know, fuck me.
Mm-hmm.
You think of Borough Bex, who gets wiped out week in, week out. Do you know what I mean? Fucking... Honestly, right, back in a sec.
Because I said it wasn't a very long snap. No, downstairs it is freezing cold. It's the other one.
Is it the small box?
Is it? Have you not put that one on yet?
This is one I do once a day. No,
Not on an hour after.
not a note. You just should make sure that goes on for an hour, just till it's properly soaked in. So I'm going to do that, put this on, and then an hour before it's better.
This will float when we're ready to do
I
it.
thought we held it as well.
like, no, actually, no. Anybody paying to know?
Not had any now. Oh, yeah.
You can check on the right. I mean, this is what I've been saying.
That's what you said the other day. I've done. This one I don't compare. I'm just going to have to every other day with that one.
This one's not as clear as what you need as well.
No.
You might want me to get a fucking one and couldn't you said that?
No, that's what I mean. Just trying to do that. Just once. Right. You're up, mate. Oh.
Green light. Give it all you got.
Okay, 5, 4. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to SimPlay Motorsport here for round 16 qualifying, the first qualifying and only qualifying session of the evening. I believe now we have the Jackal in as well. Yes, we do. So still Justine Wasocki and Senna who are missing tonight. Tucker, Dizzle and Justin Winter, with there being no Senna, will have a qualifying 2-ban. If Senna can get in before the start of race 2, then that will be his qualifying ban technically served, as he will not have qualified. But at the moment, what a dramatic race. We're seeing a few things on the Discord and DMs that made that race dramatic. Drivers can now no longer win championships. 509 points in, and it's Max Mulder 105.5 points clear of Dizzle. John Gooday moves himself back up into P3, not far off the back of Diz, with Tim Ventic down to 4th after that disastrous race 1. Richie Michel stays in 5th, and John Gooday, Dan, really pulled points over Diz and Tim Ventic and Richie Michel, as did Justin Winter in that first race, who's P6.
Yeah, it was a bit of a dramatic night's first race already, and Max manages to get away with that one unscathed pretty much. Obviously a little bit pushy in places, but relatively unscathed for Max. Now with a bit of qualifying involved, hopefully some of the front runners will be able to start at the front and be able to go toe-to-toe with one another for race 2, as I currently got a poll out at the minute on who you think is going to take pole position.
After that, P7 in the standings is Brian Craig. Borough Beck's up to 8th after that great comeback drive. Robert Smith is down in 9th place from Sam in 10th. Paul Williams still P11 with Dennis Hansen P12. Argent moves miles up the order, was down by Senna in 24th. This shows how tight the midfield is. Good result for him, puts him all the way up to 13th, just outside the top 10. Diego Flores P14 from Darren Bell. Cranky Duckhead Mirko Ricci in 17th. Naval Gomez will be P18. DJ Phil from Mark Tucker, Michael Dean, Fat Bloke, Senna Herwijzer, Graham, John Andrews, not yet close enough to Graham to still score points, and Graham's missed quite a lot of races, so it shows how impressive Graham's been this season. Micro Jays from the Jackal, Lund from Dean Wasocki, Andrew Taylor, Romeo Nuclear Waste, Oliver and MB Pitts. It is Andrew Taylor, Romeo Nuclear Waste, Oliver and MB Pitts who now cannot win the championship, and there could be a few more by the end of tonight. In terms of Constructors' Championship, everybody can still win. BSP Racing are 1,015 points. 193.5 points clear of the Greasy Bandits. Greasy Bandits both closed points on BSP, with Richie Corsa P3. Stage 2 Motorsport are P4. That looks a close fight between them two. Team Melo P5 from Team FBR, with FSO Juniors P7. Forever Forward take the lead of the independent teams in this Constructors' Championship from Vorta Racing. Retroactive, the dual team that came in late only last week or the week before, they're P10 ahead of Greasy Bandits Junior, ahead of Cool Shop Racing. And again, we are going to start to lose them team or certain teams in that list as the night goes on. Right then, Dan, qualifying time. We're currently on board with the first driver out there, Dennis Hansen, who is, we believe, on a valid lap. Do not hold us to this with the timing screens showing, or the track map showing us light blue times. Dennis Hansen does put a lap time on the board. Then we'll get the 3:33 of Brian Craig. Who's getting pole position for you?
I think Tim.
I'm going to go with Max then, to be opposite. As Robert Smith comes to line, goes currently second place. It was the Porsche of Romeo behind who didn't set a lap, excuse me. Diego Flores now coming around the final corner. He's got Richie Michelle just behind him. A lot of drivers still stationary in the pit lane. Here comes Richie Michelle up to second place. Then we have Max Mulder on a lap, but on an invalid lap time. And this is going to be one to watch. Dan, invalid lap times here. They've only got the 15 minutes to get one in.
Yeah, they at least try and get a banker lap underneath them at least, and try and use that banker to try and then just play around and see what they could do after that. Because right now, even though they haven't got a lap time on the board, time is ticking away. It's now 10 minutes still left of the session, and a lot of drivers still not managed to get a lap time on the board. As Sam crosses line, he goes P5. It is then Paul Williams next to come around the final corner. There's a few cars ahead of him, but it's Paul Williams I'm currently watching as Esteban Barabex goes 5th, Cranky Duckhead goes 7th, and Paul Williams will go into 8th place position, showing that the Lamborghini isn't strong at the minute around this circuit. And then it's Dennis Hansen back to the front again. So only 9 cars out of the 20 odd managing to set a lap time. Obviously Diz in the pits with a qualifying ban.
Yeah, as is Justin Winter and Mark Tucker. So John Gooday and Dean can come out of the pit lane and do a lap. Ian Gray in the chat. Argent was quick when I went in the lobby yesterday. He's done the fastest lap of the Pro-Ams that I've seen. So he's tipping Argent then possibly for the pole. Here comes Brian Craig though. Does he improve his lap time? Don't believe he did there. Darren Bell will be next to the line, and who's behind him? That is the 118. As we're going to go down to Romeo very quickly. He goes into P4 with a lap time at the moment. Max Mulder's got a yellow flag around his name, so he won't be improving, you'd imagine. This time round, the next one on a valid lap is the Jackal, because as drivers now cross the line, the light blue this time after their first lap is that of an invalid lap time. Saying that Argent was doing mid-44s. Well, then, there we go. And that's an interesting one to keep our eyes on if Kieran Argent can replicate that lap. But was that done in clear air? If so, he's going to need it to be clear out there tonight.
He is indeed, as Max Mulder does not set a lap time. It is the Jackal then next. See if he improves, and he goes up to 7th place. The Jackal finding pace.
Yep, the next man is that of Argent, who comes to the line and only goes P4, a second off the pace at the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that Mustang does go around here as the Sam goes up into 4th now. The Aston Martin starting to find some pace as S2M Borobex next to the line. He currently 8th at the minute and no improvement there as DJ Phil now gets on the board. Mirko Ricci now into the final corner. Has he managed to do a valid lap? Currently 16th at the minute, crosses the line. Still no lap time from him. So some of these guys just struggling to get the lap times on the board. And Dennis Hansen, once again, the next car to come to the line.
Here's the next car to come to the line is Dennis Hansen then, and he'll be on for that second lap time. So Ian Gray saying mid 44s. Well, we've got to find at least 0.8 of a second to get near that pace. Dennis Hansen goes within 0.3 of the pole. The next car is that of Brian Craig, who's currently provisional pole. And like I say, Dan, only a limited car, 13 cars have set lap times at the moment. That is not great. And if you're Tim and Max currently down in that mid pack, that is not where you're going to want to be as Brian Craig does not improve.
Yeah, and I think Tim is on a valid lap. Yes, he is, and he goes to the line, and he goes fastest overall, 44.6. That's what we needed to see from him. Michael crosses and qualifies. He goes 14th as Max Mulder currently on a lap, and it is valid at this stage. All he has to do is keep it in check through the final corner.
Richie Michel's just moved up the order to P2. Here comes Max Mulder out the final corner, just runs over the curb. That should all be legal and fine there. As he comes to the line and goes and does a 44.6, 200ths quicker than his teammate down to the 46. That is Kieran Argent. Good gap in front of him, so he's not got any dirty air around him at the moment. Going to come to the line. Is he going to improve? He does, but he's still a second off the back of Max Mulder. Next car 68. That is Borobex.
It is Borobex, and he will come to the line in a few moments time, exiting the final corner, wanting a good exit. The McLaren should be strong here as he comes to the line now and goes to 8th.
We've got Senna in, who cannot qualify, but Senna is in as Cranky Duckhead improves to 30th. Paul Williams enter the line. He goes back ahead of him and up to 12th, back to the 666 car. So reminder, Diz, Justin Winter and Mark Tucker cannot qualify. We have just lost Senna again, so not in yet. Maybe his internet is not fully working at the moment. So Diz, Justin Winter, Tucker and Senna cannot qualify. Dean not yet out there done a lap, who can qualify. So interesting to see as here comes Dennis Hansen, 1.1 off the pole, doesn't improve. What about Brian Craig, who's currently P4 in qualifying? That's probably a little wider than he'd like. He's going to tuck it back in and he's going to stay close to pit wall and bail on that current lap. Next car to the line is the 64. That is Darren Bell, who's finally going to maybe put a lap time on the board and on the timing screen. John Gooday as well hasn't got a lap time in. Neither does Mirko Ricci. Dean's now out the pits. Darren Bell to the line, goes P16.
He does go P16, looking for the next car to come around at the final corner. That looks like the 18 of Diego Flores. Yes, it is. And to the line he comes, no improvement. The next valid lap time is, I believe, the Argent. Yeah, so next one on a lap time. And he obviously put enough fuel in it to keep going. And sometimes the first 2 laps isn't your best lap. You normally see the Formula 1 drivers take their time to get their tyres and temperatures into the right window. That's going to be an invalid lap time as Argent crosses the line and does not improve.
Does not improve at all and now pulls over to the side of the road. We're looking for the 68. That is Borobex. To the timing screen. And goes P5 with his lap time. Yeah, so good lap time there from Borobex. Paul Williams has got a car in front of him. Can't quite see which number that is. That is DJ Phil, who don't see improving. Paul Williams stays where he is. The Cranky Duckhead just behind. Also stays there, John Gooday. Can he get a lap time on the board? Mirko Ricci span out the final corner and lets that roll backwards and nearly into what looked to be Robert Smith there. That looked a little dangerous from Mirko Ricci.
Dennis Hansen exits the final corner. He comes to the line now. He improves and goes 5th, so 6/10 at the minute. Richie Michel, really the only one who's giving the top 2 a threat at the minute. As Max Mulder is on another lap, but Richie Michel is the next one on a lap time in the Ferrari, and he's coming into the final sector now. And let's see if he can improve on that and overtaken. No one in the 43s yet.
No one in the 43s yet. Yeah, going to be interesting to see what these drivers can do as the session is just going to improve and rubber in even more, but that day is going to get harder. Track temp at 38 degrees. Here comes Richie Michel towards the line. Can he find that 2.5 tenths that he needs to get it on the front row? No improvement from him. What about Max Mulder, who's currently the pole sitter by 0.02 of a second? He also does not improve. John Andrews to improve on his lap time. What will he do? No improvement for him. Next car on a valid. That is the 53 of DJ Phil. Paul Williams invalid behind him. And then it is the cranky duckhead next on a valid lap after DJ Phil.
It is indeed DJ Phil currently sitting in 17th place position. He's into the final sector. Can he find any more pace out of the Lamborghini? Struggling on the pad. He runs very wide out of the final corner. Should be able to slingshot his way through the final corner and towards the line. Any improvement for DJ Phil? A slight improvement, but not much. And then it's the cranky duckhead to the line. Yeah. No improvement. Then it's John Goudet to the line.
He was down in 14th place. No improvement for him. What about Robert Smith? He is currently sat P4, 7 tenths off the pole. No improvement for him. Next car on a valid. That is car 57 of John Andrews. Right at the beginning part of the lap. The middle part of the lap. As we say good evening to Overtaker as well. You two make a great team. Thanks for the comments, Overtaker. We work hard to put on a great show for you guys watching at home or wherever you may be watching. Don't forget to hit that bell notification, the thumbs up if you like what you see here, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. You can join me in PM Motorsport tomorrow night for the Pro Series at 8 PM GMT. +1, and Dan Davis will be back live solo for the GT4s at Watkins Glen next week, Dan. Stateside for the final time. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, Watkins Glen is actually really good on this game. I quite enjoy it. It was a bit sketchy on Project Cars, but on ACC I quite enjoy it, and definitely looking forward to that one as John Andrews now into the final set there, and he's going into the pits, and Sam bailing out on his lap as well. I think he was going to get stuck behind John Andrews, so they've all bailed. I believe it is the Tim Venting, just about to say Tim's into the final corner and he's gone fastest.
He has gone fastest, so he must have done that on the last lap. He's gone fastest by 1/10. Can he improve as he comes down the start finish straight over the line? Finds another 3/10 here. So all going well for Tim Venting at the moment. Next person on the lap is DJ Phil down in 17th. After that, it is the 32 of Mirko Ricci, who is yet, Dan, to set a valid lap time, as is Dean.
As is Dean as well, and all these guys currently still on invalid laps. A lot of cars on invalid laps, including Max Mulder, who will start his final attempt. DJ Phil does not improve here, and a lot of drivers just pushing to the limit.
They are just pushing to the limit a little bit too much at the moment, and that's not what you want to see at all from these drivers. As down the start straight comes Mirko Ricci, goes up into 17th place. Next car on a valid lap is the 96. That is Sam once again, who's just finished the lap. He's back on a valid lap again.
Yeah, and Tim Bentinck is done. That's his qualifying done. He thinks he can't do no more. Max has got a lot of work to do. Sam, though, in the middle sector. We are very good teams in the commentary box. We'd be terrible teammates. And Sam gone wide, and that is his lap time done. I believe Romeo's also at a moment as well.
I think we'd be absolutely fantastic, Dan. We've never, ever had a coming together, especially not in a few weeks' time at Zolder. As did Max Mulder just return to the pit lane? He has, yeah.
Esteban Borobex coming through the final few corners now.
Who's the 38? He is right in front of Argent on an invalid lap. That's Dean on an invalid lap. Not yet holding Argent up, but he's going to become a nuisance to Argent. I'm surprised he's not pulled out, but obviously got to make sure you yield to those on a fast lap. Borobeck's right over the final curb, comes towards the line. 117 pulls into the pits. Argent's now invalidated, and Borobeck says P7. So Argent done. We're just now waiting for Dennis Hansen. So mid 44s that Argent was getting. When the traffic's on the circuit, he's not able to do it. And Dennis Hansen goes wide. We just wait now for the next car, which I didn't actually see, was DJ Phil, who improves to P18, and that is qualifying. Tim Venting, yet another pole. That's back-to-back poles for Tim Venting. GT4 last night, GT3 tonight.
Yeah, indeed, and Tim Venting in the Ferrari, looking strong, looking confident, and he needs to bounce back after race one, because his teammate who's just alongside him there is running away with the points at the minute.
One thing to mention, Justin Winter down the order due to that qualifying ban. John Goodey only 14th, so all them points they've just gained back in that first race, they could possibly lose now in this second race by starting midfield and at the back of the pack.
Indeed, as you got the two BSP boys on the front row. What sort of drama is going to come our way as they head towards turn number 1? Do you know what? This track surprises me because it's a circuit that you think all the chaos would be at turn 1, at most of the corners, you know, but instead the chaos always seems happens before they even get anywhere near turn 1.
It's on the approach, isn't it? It seems to be big braking zone here, wide circuit, funneling into turn 1. It kind of funnels down and tightens up the closer you get to the corner. That then puts everybody into each other as they're hitting the brakes. We saw it last night, big incident at turn 1, that then by the time everybody got to turn 1, you know, a lot of the grid had been caught up in that incident, myself included. You know, I was the one who was at fault the other year catching Ripper out, which Overtaker still didn't pay me for, I'd just like to point out. No, not really. Which was silly on my behalf, but it's all kind of done in that braking area where incidents seem to be happening the most.
Yeah, I think you got some drivers that are being cautious. You got other drivers that are trying to use it as their one and only opportunity to gain places. And a lot of drivers, I think in this league at the minute, try too hard to try and overtake. When a lot of the time, strategy is like your biggest friend most of the time. So I think strategy is always.
Race 1, you know, ducked out the way, went into the pits early. Yourself in the Retia, you pitted early in that and kept that fresh. Or if I remember, just kept the clean air. And that's where it's won. Race 2 winner, though. Round 16. Hard to look past the guys on the front row, isn't it?
Yeah, but they've made their own mistakes. They've made mistakes. They're both going for a championship. When do they go, you know what, it's not actually... when are they going to go, right, racing orders has gone. Who's going to be top dog? This one I'm going to say... I'm going to say Dennis. I think something's going to happen.
Okay. I'm going to go with Tim to take Ferrari's 25th race win. In terms of stats, and McLaren 83 race wins to their name now due to Max Mulder in race 1. In terms of pole position, Ferrari getting their 22nd and getting closer to that 25th pole position for them. In terms of milestones, in terms of podiums, that was Ford's second ever podium thanks to Kieran Arjun. We also had the podium for the Porsche of Justin Winter. That's 254 for the Porsche, and the McLaren 242. That's approaching 250. That is Max Mulder's 23rd race when he's approaching 25. Tim Venting will now take his 6th pole position of his career at SimPlay. That puts him level with Nova, Green Pies, and one of the cleanest drivers at SimPlay Motorsport we've ever seen, D Biggs. In terms of podiums, Max Mulder now moves to 45 podiums. If we look to find Winter, that was only his 4th podium. And if we look to find Argent, who I believe is up there, he got 50 podiums a while back. That is podium number 51. He's now 1 behind Andy and 2 behind Sooty Apex. So great to see. Good stats.
Indeed, it is. And Andy, that's a name we haven't heard in a while.
Well, do you want some other names we haven't heard in a while?
Sure.
Well, these come to the middle part of the track. The most successful drivers around this circuit. You are the most successful. Woo! From now, Tim Venting, 2 poles and a win. Then it is tied between... then it is just Overtaker, 2 wins. Myself, 1 win. Louis Allen, famously, if you remember back in that Pro-Am season, the last one of PS4, took the 1 win at the last race of the season to win and won the championship. Exit Tibbs 1 win, Smokey Devil 1 win, Killer Camel 1 win, Dennis Newman 1 win, Danlick 1 win, Ginger Bush 1 win, Boss Soft 1 pole, Kishanyika 1 pole, Daz Automatic and Ripper 1 pole. As dominant as Ripper was, he wasn't good at the Hungaroring.
Right, he put it on pole position, but I guess he had bad luck. He probably had a Matthew Duffin
wiped out by some Bentley.
Yeah, doing the
Valtteri Bottas.
very much so, as they now exit the final corner and we get this 1 hour race underway. Here is to BSP on the front row.
It is round 16 of the season. 24 rounds this year. It is back to the 12 races. It is one of SimPlay's longest ever seasons. I robbed that from Formula 1. And for round 16, we are green and go for the second and final time tonight. And already at the start, Max Mulder tucked right in behind behind Tim Venting. Richie Michel following through. And Richie Michel might be the one to have a look up the inside of Max Mulder, who's going to try and around the outside. There's a Nissan off of Michael. Oh, this is reminiscent to last night. And manages to only hit DJ Phil. So not as chaotic. But Michael and DJ Phil off, and Max now putting full attack onto his teammate Tim Venting. There is no team orders there, clearly. It is just all go as, excuse me, bit of drama in the background. Robert Smith looking up the inside of Esther and Borobex. Now Borobex looking back up the inside of him. And if he can carry that momentum up to turn 4, he might be the one to look back up the inside. No, he can't. Borobex manages to hang on to that. Romeo's on the back of these two as well. Followed by, that looks to be Darren Bell and then Kieran Argent. But all apart from DJ, I say that there's a yellow flag. There is a lot of yellow flags appearing at turn 4.
There is a lot of yellow flags. I'm keeping an eye on the leaders at the minute.
Don't know where the cranky duck head's just appeared from. The Jackal's bonnet. That is going to be brought into the pit lane right now. That is struggling to turn. That is as wide as I've seen a bonnet on this game. But back to the front of the pack, Dan, what was you watching?
Yeah, just watching the leaders. Tim Venting's now starting to extend his gap. The Ferrari of Richie Michel starting to become under some pressure from the McLaren, and the BSP boys now done fighting one another. They are now heading to try and pull away from the cars behind, but now this is where I think it's going to get dicey between the top two. They're going to start pulling away, and then they're going to start having their own scrap. And I think Tim has the 1 lap pace, but I think Max has got the strategy underneath him. And it's then down to whoever falls in behind them. But we'll see how they get on later on in this race.
We will, and I think Max has gained on the back of Tim Venting coming down the start straight. There you go. Ferrari possibly a bit better on the brakes and in a straight line than the McLaren. At the minute down towards turn 1, it's Tim from Max. No attack, then it's Richie from Dennis. Borobex from Robert Smith. Romeo. Then Brian Craig from Kieran Argent. Then it is Sam Paul Williams, Justin Winter from the back up to 12th, Darren Bell, Diz up to 14th, Mark Tucker, Diego Flores, Michael, Mirko, Richie with damage, John Andrews a little bit of damage, and it is Dean John Goodace down to 21st, so he's had a moment, Cranky Ducker, DJ Phil and the Jackal, who is crawling around, and that one will be coming into the pitch, you imagine, at the end of this lap. But the Borobex and Robert Smith fight looking an interesting one at the minute. Smith not finding a way past, but he's right there on the back of Borobex, and it's great to see Borobex get a start and his car look pretty clean.
Yeah, it does, and he's actually managing to stick with the leaders. Meanwhile, Max Mulder and Tim are pushing one another. Max is right on the rear wing of him and not letting Tim have it easy at the minute. Meanwhile, Richie Michel is right behind them as Dennis Hansen has lost out. Max right on the rear wing of Tim.
And Tim took a lot of curb there, kicking up a bit of dirt. That would have cost some momentum through the corner. That would have allowed Max to get close. We've already seen Max get very close to Argent and tap him around. You will not want to tap your teammate around, that is for sure. But at the minute, Max doing everything he needs to do in this race to put pressure on his teammate and hope that his teammate cracks under that pressure and drops down that order a little bit to help him in this championship. Max has over 100 points in this championship fight, so he's going to want to carry on that momentum of winning races. Down the order a little bit, Borobex trying to put Dennis Hansen under pressure with Robert Smith and Romeo all within a second of each other. Argent's half a second off the back of Brian Craig. This is going to be interesting to see the speed of the Mustang here.
Max is right there.
Over
Max
that, we are going to go back to Max, though, Dan. Talk us through it.
He is right under the rear wing and he's looking to the inside of turn 1. Tim's going to give him the room and space, and he's going to hope to get the undercut, and I think he might do so. Yeah, Tim gets the undercut done and Max runs wide, and Tim, smarter than Max there, got the undercut and swooped underneath. Now he just needs to be careful he doesn't overshoot into turn 2, which he doesn't, and Richie Michel is creeping back.
Richie Michel is creeping back. Argent got a bit closer to Brian Craig, but not close enough. Down the order, Diz has got ahead of Darren Bell. That must have been done at turn 1. Darren Bell lunges and Diz manages to see that. That was a heck of a dive bomb from Darren Bell there to get the place back from Diz. little out of control, if you ask me. Jackal and Senna obviously didn't take to the start, has just got back into the lobby. Dean has been now passed by John Gooday, who's got damage on his bonnet. His bonnet looks like it's bouncing to me there. It is, just slightly. He's trying to get on the back of John Andrews. So the great first race for Greasy Bandits is not turning out to be the great second race, although his teammate's on the back of Robert Smith, who's dropped off the back of Borough Beck. So what's happened, Smith? Maybe his own mistake, because his car looks pretty clean. And Winter, who's looking racy tonight, Dan. But Richie Michelle gaining on the front too.
We've got another high server ping at the minute, and I believe that's probably because of Senna trying to join the server, but it's not happening for him tonight, and Max is just losing a little bit of momentum to Tim here. Meanwhile, these two have pulled away from the pack behind, other than Richie Michelle, who's gone with them, and Dennis Hansen just has no answer from the two other McLarens. The Porsche Romeo is still there. Argent's running wide near enough every corner I've seen him on. And yeah, Robert Smith just hanging in ahead of Justin Winter. It's now Diz looking to try and get past Darren Bell, who had contact in that first race. But Max Mulder still trying to find an opportunity to find a way past on his teammate.
He is trying to find a way past. Apologies if you could hear me typing away. I was just messaging Senna to let him know, please leave that lobby, because you are causing some massive server ping. He's a little disgruntled because of his qualifying ban, but, you know, there's nothing us or him can do about that one. That is just the way it is. But like I say, Tim just gapping Max a little bit. Richie Michelle's still there, but Rebexo closing now within to a second of Dennis Hansen at the moment. And I tell you what, that grunt of the Mustang, it's great when you're in front, but when you're behind another car, Kieran cannot find a way through because he's losing all that time in the middle sector that he's got to regain on them straights.
Yeah, and the 30 is really going to hurt the Mustang even more so than any other car. And obviously struggling in the corners and be much faster in the straights. Now Richie Michelle is right on Max Mulder now. Max pushing the limits here, pushing hard, and Richie Michelle possibly could find an opportunity to find a way through. And I did say these two might be too busy fighting their own fight, and someone else might be able to come in and get involved. And Richie Michelle, he don't care. He wants a race win on the board.
He does want a race win on the board, and he wants to improve in that championship standings and move up that order a little bit himself. He's not bothered about who he upsets to get to the front. He just wants to get there. And at the moment, Tim Venting leading this race from Max Mulder. Your top three having a good scrap. Dennis Hansen in fourth place, running well, but he's being caught by Borough Bex, and Borough Bex had early pace in the season, and then he just has had no luck really since the first couple of rounds. Is now going to try and get into that top four and maybe try and clear that of Dennis Hansen and get onto the back of Richie Michelle. Richie Michelle, Dan, fastest lap of the race.
It was indeed. Tim Ventic did have that momentarily, but Richie Michelle took it back, and I think Tim's got very deep. Oh no, he's managed to collect it together. It looked like he went deep into turn one, but Max right there. Max doing a Max Verstappen line, running very wide there, and just managing to get back on circuit before Richie Michelle gets anywhere near him. But I think the two BSP boys are pushing a bit hard at the minute, and Richie Michelle looking at the stronger car at this stage.
I would agree at the moment, and in this heat, 37 degrees track temp, that is going to hurt your tyres a great deal. It really is going to hurt your tyres. It's not what you want to be doing at all. And Max Mulder again, look, just dropping into that path of Richie Michelle here. And the McLaren, the favoured car, obviously one thing that is going to be discussed next season is that of the BOP for next year, which pretty much is set in stone that it looks like it's going to come in for next season, at least give a season of it and see what it does. These are the two favoured cars for this circuit, so it would be interesting with that BOP to see what would be doing what.
It would indeed. Coming on to the end of the middle sector into the last sector, and once again Richie Michelle is there. The threat is real to the BSP boys. They probably thought, oh, we'll just run away into the distance and no one will catch us. Not in this case, as Max runs a little bit wide there. That might be a track limits warning there, but these two got to look over their shoulder a little bit, because that Ferrari is there and lingering.
We're down the pack at the moment, watching DJ Phil, who's trying to get on the back of Justin Winter. He's got Darren Bell right behind him. We saw Robert Smith pull a move on him up through turn 4 a little earlier on. It was a cracking move around the outside. Just down the order as well, John Andrews has just been overtaken by Dean not too long ago. The Jackal has fixed his damage. He is 2 laps down on the pack. I think he's a lap down on the rest of the pack. That'll just update as he crosses the line. He's got to pit again. That's probably going to be his race done, but with 50 minutes to go, anything could happen in this race. Mark Tucker trying to get on the back of Diz. We've got Darren Bell now, who's in that slipstream of the Lamborghini. Is he going to pull out? We saw him send one on Diz at the moment. Is he going to send another on DJ Phil? He's going to have a look up the inside line. DJ Phil thinks about closing the door.
Paul Williams.
That's Paul Williams, apologies. Thinks about closing the door, but can't do so because that yellow McLaren has gone up the inside. Darren Bell, great move this time around. Kieran Argent still following Brian Craig, cannot make any inroads. Borough Beck still following Dennis Hansen. And the top three, pretty much ebbing and flowing a little bit is the word I'd use, Dan.
Yeah, very much so, ebbing and flowing, and it's just who's got the confidence around this circuit. And Darren Bell, after a little bit of a chaotic race 1, he's got the confidence in race 2, passing cars like they're nothing at the minute. Now Diz is on the rear wing of Paul Williams, who's just struggling in the Lamborghini. That's not really giving me high hopes, but nonetheless, Paul Williams is trying his very best to stay in front of the BMW, and Diz's championship, you think, is just starting to dwindle away. Looks so good at the start of the season, but every race since basically Brands Hatch, he's just been struggling.
He has been struggling, and it is going to be an interesting one to see what Borough Betts can do in this back half of the season. Sorry, I was just reading something there on the stream, and turns out I pressed the wrong button. Ian Gray, no one needs reporting. I caught square on Max Mulder's name, but luckily didn't report him. Which we've noticed, one driver keeps pressing the wrong button. We think he's been doing it for a ticket. Not going to say who it is, but we've seen a lot of reports on the server for cheating over several other drivers, and it's from the same driver pretty much. So yeah, I did catch the wrong button there. That's why I saw it pop up on the stream at the time. Borough Beck, so within 3/10 of Dennis Hansen, right up that rear wing of him in the McLaren. 2 McLarens, and you can see who's the favourite car. Look, Romeo having a good night's worth of racing so far. Dan, P6 for him.
Yeah, it is. He's hanging in there. Obviously, if it wasn't for the contact with Michael earlier on in race 1, he probably would have been looking solid for a race win earlier on. But at the minute, he's on his own, no stresses, and he's trying to stick with Dennis Hansen and S2M Borough Becks. But so far, no positions changing at the minute. Richie Michelle once again gets within half a second of Max Mulder, has lost out once again. And yeah, the places at the minute just ebbing and flowing. Meanwhile, Diz is attacking Paul Williams, looking to the outside, but thinks better of it into the left-hand king. You have to be confident going through there.
You do have to be confident going through there. Indeed, he's now looking up the inside through turn 5, and is this one going to stick a bit better for him? He'll have that inside line for the chicane, and tucks back in front of Paul Williams. Move done for Diz, up to 13th place, but obviously losing ground over the front 2 in that championship running. Another man who's losing even more ground is John Gooday. He's going to try and look up the inside of Mirko Ritchie into the chicane. Brakes earlier, thinks better of it. Mirko has to cut the chicane a little bit and yields the place to John Gooday there. So John does get past Mirko Ritchie. And yeah, just the drive, you just have to feel really for Greasy Bandits. Do all that work to pull it back in the first race, and they're going to probably lose out, if not a bit more, in the second race.
Yeah, definitely. So it's just the way racing pans out. Sometimes it either goes your way or it doesn't. And in this case, it's not going for the Greasy Bandits, and it's going extremely well for the BSP boys at the minute. Who again, they've now started to have a equal gap between them, 1.3 between the top 3, and that's currently just keeping them under each other's eye, just keeping an eye on them. Dennis is still in front of S2M Borough Becks, but Borough Becks will start to be getting patient.
Finish what you were saying. Yeah, finish what you were saying. I'm watching the same thing as you.
He's starting to get a little bit impatient by the looks of things, and tried to... I actually think he missed his braking. I don't think he was trying anything crazy there. I think he was just trying to find some more time, and Dennis takes a lot of inside curb. He slowed down a little bit, probably to stop the chance of getting a slowdown, that's the same way I said for a while. A warning there. So Dennis Hansen, he's hit the curb quite hard there, and probably unsettled the car ever so slightly, but this is probably your closest fight. I say that. Diz and Bell are going at it once again, and Diz is up the inside going into the chicane. He should have the job done if Bell is willing to cooperate, and he has, and Diz moves up a position. Not the easiest place to overtake.
It's not the easiest place to overtake, but if you're fully alongside like at the car on the outside, is not gonna, you may as well not fight it or try and fight it, because you are just going to lose out. Diz 2 laps in a row makes the overtake at that corner and gets through. Paul Williams has got Mark Tucker on the back of him within a tenth. So that's now the closest fight on the circuit as well, and Mark Tucker going well. Michael behind in 16th. He's got damage to the front of the car. Good evening to Gary Clarble in the chat. Hope the elbow's good, buddy.
Max is back on the attack. He's found half a second on Tim. So where I said that even the paced out Max has gained that time back up again. And there's the Jackal now coming up to lap. So this could be interesting.
Question for you, Dan. We know each car kind of goes through a little phase of a race where it just acts a little strange, whether it's the tyres going through a little heat cycle or whatever. Do we think that Max has had that a little earlier than the Jackal, and his car's now started to get back into that rhythm to come back to him?
Possibly, or he possibly just dropped out the dirty air from the Ferrari and just gained a little bit of confidence, and now he's caught right onto the back of him and possibly the front end. Probably not happy again. Obviously these boys carrying ballast last time in the GT4s. Probably nice to have no ballast in the cars whatsoever, but he's really pressurizing the Ferrari, and the Jackal started to become a bit of a hindrance for these guys. Now blue flag starting to show, and he's got to fight. This is the most difficult place to get out of the way, and the Jackal does a brilliant job in doing that, and fair play to him. He's obviously abandoned his race so that these two could carry on racing, and while they have been racing and clearing the back marker, Richie Michelle was dropped off massively. He's now 2.7 off the back of him.
It just makes me wonder what's going off with his car. Esteban Borobex has got past Dennis Hansen, and Romeo's within 0.3 of a second of him now. Diz has started to pull away from Darren Bell. That gap is 1.2. So Dennis Hansen trying to get back past Borobex, who has a little wiggle on the exit there, and Romeo with him. There's Brian Craig in the background. He's dropped Argent 3 seconds. Robert Smith is on the back of Kieran Argent. So the Mustang works wonders when it can control its pace, and you know, Kieran can fight for PA to try and control that over Robert Smith in terms of being able to block through the middle sector and use its straight line speed down the straights, but it's just not able to catch at the moment. That seems to be the Mustang's biggest problem. Mark Tucker's under pressure by Michael. That gap is just a 10th, and Diego Flores within 9/10 now of Paul Williams. So Paul Williams has lost out a couple of places here. John Gooday not gaining too much at the minute. Dennis Hansen has got Romeo looking to the outside of turn 2. Can't get anything done around there. Going to be a good. Going to have to try and be brave around the outside to get it done around there. Now, what's happened to Max, Dan? Because he's all of a sudden within 0.3 of Richie Michelle and is now 3 seconds behind Tim Venting.
I'm not sure. I was watching other fights down the back of the pack. But yeah, Max has lost out here and now under pressure from Richie Michelle. So once again, it's ebbing and flowing between them. I might have to do a little bit of a replay and find out exactly what happened to Max there, because that's a lot of time to lose.
Robert Smith has got past Kieran Argent. Kieran drops down to P9. Possibly a bit of a confidence knock from race 1 for Kieran Argent. Just struggling, it seems, in this second race. Pit window open in about 5.5 minutes time. But we're currently going to watch the fight between Romeo and Dennis Hansen. Lovely looking Porsche then in P6 for P6 and 5. And Max now got to put the pressure back on Tim Venting. 37 degrees track temperature, Dan, but it has come over rather cloudily. It has darkened up a little bit. Are we expecting tyre change, in the pit stop? Or what would kind of be the strategy here?
So Max has had a moment on the exit.
Sorry, Dan. Mark Tucker drive-through penalty for track limits. That is early in the race, and Mark Tucker's picked himself up that drive-through. Sorry, Dan.
Max, so as you can see on the side of Max's car, he's actually got damage as well to the side of the vehicle, and yeah, he's got a little bit loose on the exit of turn 2 and just sideswiped the wall as he came off circuit, and he's managed to face in the right way this time round. But Richie Michelle possibly looking at a wounded McLaren ahead of him. Oh, has he gone very deep? Richie Michelle nearly clobbering the back of Max Mulder there, but Tim also lost a little bit of time that time. So the top 3 looking like they're just struggling a little bit.
Yeah, they're not looking comfortable. Mark Tucker comes into the pit lane. Sam now within a second of Kieran Argent as Kieran's trying to close that gap back down to Robert Smith in front. Also down the grid, Diego Flores within 0.8 of Paul Williams. Mark Tucker's drive through is going to allow John Gooday and Mirko Ricci to come through. Here comes Dean and John Andrews. DJ Phil has got Cranky Duckhead on the back of him for 22nd, 23rd. Unlucky for Cranky, had a good first race inside the top 10. Drive through cleared, so these two will not get on the back of Tucker. And Cranky nearly clips the rear of DJ Phil, and Phil just turns across the front of Cranky there. Luckily enough, he is in front. And the Honda's maybe going to have a look in towards turn 1. Is Cranky Duckhead over DJ Phil? Will he pull that inside line? He is, and thinks of sending one. And DJ Phil just chops the nose off there.
Just chopping the nose off, stopping the Honda from coming through. Meanwhile, Richie Michelle has also lost now time to Max Mulder, so where we had a nice 1.3 gap, we've now got 3 seconds between the top three.
I'm wondering if Richie's made his own mistake there, Dan, because the gap between Max and Tim has stayed at 3.1 seconds, so that's Richie making his own mistake there.
Yeah, his own mistake, his own fault there, and just struggling to stick with them now. I think, and Tim's now suddenly just got into a groove. He's comfortable, has the race under control, doesn't have to do anything crazy. Max had his own moment and has got damage to the side of his car, so Tim now in a controlling position. Meanwhile, Romeo is attacking Dennis Hansen going down the main straight, and Dennis Hansen goes into turn 1. Is he going to get the better run out the corner? Yes, he does, and Romeo's not able to do anything with it.
Diz within a second of Justin Winter, who's just dropped a wheel on the grass in the straight. Very uncharacteristic that. It was halfway down the straight as well. And Diz now getting within that second. Diego Flores within half a second of Paul Williams, not quite close enough yet. DJ Fields just gapping Cranky just ever so slightly over the course of this lap. But yeah, Romeo in the thick of this fight with Dennis. Burbeck's just slowly creeping away ahead of these two, but Dennis will look to try and bring him back. Sam's within half a second of Argent, and they're catching Brian Craig, it looks like. So I wonder if Brian Craig has made a mistake somewhere, because he's now lost a lot of time. Sam on the back of Argent with half a second. Diz 6/10 to Justin Winter, although can't get alongside what seems to be Diz's favourite overtaking spot, and that is up the inside into the chicane. This time around, Diego Flores on Paul Williams. Again, nothing to be done for them there. And Cranky Duckhead still stuck behind DJ Phil at this moment in time. But it is Tim from Max from Richie, your race leaders. Max had a little wiggle on the outside curb there as well. So just that car doesn't seem overly happy at the minute.
Yeah, I don't think any of the cars seem particularly happy with these conditions. Hot track, very flowing circuit, naturally abuses the tyre, this circuit. So... you know, it's going to be a high degradation, so you'll find, I think a lot of cars will be changing tyres as Diz is trying to find a way through on Justin Winter. Hopefully the BMW should have the straight line advantage, but he's just not had a good exit out of the final 2 corners, so he's lost out. Meanwhile, Romeo's within 2/10 of Dennis Hansen going down towards turn 1. That Porsche of Romeo's seems to be incredibly strong in the straight line.
Yeah, he's got it hooked up in the straight line, hasn't he? That is for sure. So interesting to see here from Romeo of what he can do so far in this race, and it is looking good if you are the Porsche driver currently watching him chase down after the McLaren then, and then it's the Burbeck's McLaren in front of him that he's also trying to hunt down in this one. But so far so good, you have to say, if you are Tim Venting, gapping Max Mulder. So Burbeck's not catching Richie Michelle, so the top 3 look in a good position at the moment. And you're just seeing where the McLaren seems to be strong. But you're right, Romeo strangely has that BMW hooked up in a straight line at the minute. Porsche, sorry.
It's weird saying a Porsche straight in a fast and a straight line. But nonetheless, Romeo's trying anything and everything to find a way past on the McLaren. And it's strong in the middle sector as well, as the window has now opened for pits. So we might see a few cars coming into pit lane. But right now, Romeo very solid through the middle sector and right on the rear wing of Dennis Hansen here.
He is indeed coming down towards the back end of the circuit. The top 3 don't look like they're pitting, so will any of these 3 decide to come in and maybe get the undercut? We know the undercut can be a strong strategy around this circuit. And getting into that clear air, so it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing for Romeo or Dennis Hansen to dive in, but they're choosing not to. Another man, Robert Smith, getting closer to the back of Brian Craig. It might not be a bad option to do that undercut, and straight in he comes. He is not messing around at all. Sam isn't going to come straight in. He's going to try and carry on. Diz as well carries on his way. And then the only other 2 that's in a close fight is out of Cranky Duckhead and DJ Phil, but they're down by the chicane. And Romeo still up the rear wing down the straight of that of Dennis Hansen at the minute. That Porsche is looking mighty in his hands. And he's going to try and have a look here or there, and can't do so at the moment.
Yeah, he can't seem to find a way through, even though he has seemed to got great straight line speed in that Porsche. He can't do anything with it because all it's doing is matching the McLaren. He's not losing time, but he's gaining enough, but not enough to really get alongside as a few cars enter pit lane. John Goudet is another one that's come into pit lane. But possibly your closest fight at the minute is this squabble for 5th place at the minute, with Romeo and
I'm
S2 and
going to say
Burbeck's in a
fourth,
little
yeah,
sandwich.
because Burbeck's has kind of been reeled back in by these two. He got ahead, started to creep away slightly, and they've reeled Burbeck's back in.
They have indeed. Meanwhile, another car that's reeling in another one is Richie Michel has brought the gap down a little bit to Max Mulder again. Max just dropping off at inventing the top three, kind of stable at the minute, but Max, I think, just struggling a little bit at this stage.
Oh, Robert Smith, just looking at the track map, he's just came out the pits, and right in front of him is this amazing Cranky Duckhead DJ Phil fight that's been going on for ages. Cranky can't find a way through, and Robert Smith a couple of seconds off the back of this fight, but not where you need to be. And the leaders have lapped Michael and John Gooday. Cranky now gets side by side with DJ Phil. DJ has the inside line, drifts a little wide. How did Cranky not hit the back of DJ Phil there? I don't know. And they carry on their merry way again. Sam's got past Kieran.
Dennis and Romeo both pitted at the same time, so that's really gonna not help each other out. But Sam, yeah, has passed Argent. Now Diz is still trying to find a way past on Justin Winter, but right now Cranky Duckhead could be pushing DJ Phil across the track right now.
He may as well. I don't know if it's worth coming in for that undercut. Robert Smith, though, is going to catch these two very quickly and in the wrong part of the circuit, and you have to feel for Robert Smith here. He's gone for that undercut option, and it might not work because he might get held now by these two drivers in front of him who are fighting for position, and that's for position for himself. So it's not like they've got to get out of the way for the blue flags. He's fighting for position. Cranky Duckhead struggling through the middle sector. Robert Smith now on the back of these two, and it's going to be a case of how quick Robert Smith can clear them. As like you say, it's only the top two drivers that have come into the pit lane. A couple more coming around the corners now. Cranky getting alongside DJ Phil. Robert Smith wanted a bit of the action as well. He's got nowhere to go, and DJ's gone so straight on. They both go up the inside. DJ Phil a day late, dollar short on the brakes, and Cranky stays out on circuit at the moment. But Robert Smith will be wanting to clear Cranky Duckhead here by turn one because he's losing time.
Yeah, he should be able to. If he's into the slipstream, he should be able to just work his way
118
past
Romeo. Oh no! He's got a pit drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Not good for him. Not what he could have been wanted right now, as Robert Smith did bring the gap down ever so slightly to the guys in front, but now he's being held up by the Cranky Duckhead, who's not planning to pit at this stage. But Tim Menting, a gap of 5.1 at the minute ahead of Max Mulder, currently second at this stage.
Yeah,
he's got a gap of 2. He's got a, he's struggling a little bit, probably a damage from the side of the car. 2.8 ahead of Richie Michel, who holds fastest lap in third place. Then we got S2 and Burbeck's in a solid P4. He's 12.4 behind the leader. Brian Craigney in P5. He's opted into pit, and that releases Sam in 6th and 7th for Argent, who move up a couple of places. Justin Winter now in 8th, with Diz right behind him in 9th. 10th is Darren Bell in the McLaren. 11th is Paul Williams. Diego Flores 12th. 13th Marco Ritchie. Dean is 14th. Mark Tucker 15th, Dennis Hansen, the first of the pitters, in 16th, John Andrews in 17th, Cranky Duckhead, and Robert going at it for 18th and 19th, and around the outside goes Robert Smith, and I think he should get the job done there. And Romeo's had his own moment as well, because he's dropped behind them, and Romeo now in the middle of this scrap as well.
Yeah, in the middle of this scrap, and with that drive-through penalty, drops behind Robert Smith. Not sure what happened to him, but Robert Smith, great driving from him there to get it around the outside of Cranky Duckhead and then up the inside for the next part. But a few drivers dive into the pit lane. Nothing from the top three. Max really struggling at the moment. The Jackal obviously needs to pit again. He's a couple of laps down in this one, and Romeo straight in, Dan, for that drive-through penalty in this race. Diz, though, on the back of Justin Winter. This is the closest fight out there on circuit. And Diz now on the back of the Porsche, and yet to pit all these two, so it's going to be an interesting one to see who pulls the strings here and who calls it first. Tim's gap now is over 5.3 seconds, and Richie Michel has the gap down to 2.2 as Max comes into the pit lane, and so that's not going to matter for Richie Michel, who will overtake Max at the start line there. Into the pits he comes, and I believe that looks like Paul Rebec's. Is he pitting? No, I don't think he is.
No, he is not. Meanwhile, Diz is right behind the Porsche of Justin Winter. Is Justin now possibly struggling with the rear downforce as Richie Michel gets a drive-through penalty?
Gets a stop-go.
Stop and go.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bit harsh
Must have come in a bit quicker than what Romeo did. Yeah, a lot quicker than what Romeo did. He's got a stop-go penalty. That's pretty much going to ruin his race. And that's another pit stop. Diz on the back of Justin Winter down the start straight. Justin goes to the inside to cover that line. Here comes Diz around the outside. Is he going to have a look? No. Can he tuck it back up the inside? Later on the brakes goes Justin Winter. Diz tries to cut back underneath. I believe Justin's just got the straight line speed and out the exit to the corner, but Diz is going to look up the inside, maybe ascend it. No, Justin covers that one off. Great driving from these two for 7th and 8th at the moment. Max Mulder's pit stop is done, and if you look at that, who's that? That is the car number 18 of Diego Flores. So Max comes out at the minute P10, bit of clear air of Diego in front of him, but doesn't come out with that gaggle of cars that's all coming around the back end of the circuit now.
Yeah, so Dennis Hansen in quite a lovely gap that he's been dropped into. Max is going into turn 2, so Max hasn't repaired the damage either, so that's going to be an interesting call. Richie Michelle probably got a little bit of clean air as Tim Venting is now into the pits. So, and Richie Michelle as well. If I was Richie Michelle, I would have gone longer. I would have gone much longer.
Yeah, I think that's not enough time. Max's undercut there should possibly work, especially if he's not repaired the damage. Justin Winter a little wide, and Diz has to get on the brakes there as Justin nearly lost the car into the side of him, but Justin yields that place. I don't think he had much choice there because of the speed out the corner that Diz had compared to him. So Mirko with a stop-go, who is in now. And Diz manages to get through. Does Justin Winter box? Justin Winter straight in, not wasting any time. In fact, pretty much the whole lot, bar Diz, are coming into the pits. And Diz will take the race lead for the time being. Even Darren Bell is coming into the pit lane. Max 4.3 behind Diego Flores. You see him there. And Robert Smith on the back of John Andrews. And John just holding up the BMW driver a little bit. Robert Smith's strategy of going straight away, he's just got past John Andrews actually, but Robert Smith's strategy of pretty much pitting straight away is just not worked for him because he's just found traffic wherever he's gone.
Yeah, it has indeed, and hey ho, it is how it's worked out. Tim Venting has come back out on track. Where is Max? He's now coming into turn 1, and Richie Michelle has gained some time on him. Not a lot, but gained some time. But we'll see see if Richie Michelle can do anything. Has he decided to change tyres? I wonder if any of these guys have decided to change tyres. That's the question.
Well, that's going to be the interesting one. Just want to point out, DX commentator, thank you very much, as Sam now gets the stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Thank you very much for the kind word. You to recommend this presentation. I love folks doing lives, but I'm a ham radio creator, so it's not my bag. Have a great stream. Thank you very much, DX Commander. Sorry. Thanks for the kind words. Love to see stuff like that in the channel. So Sam now with a stop-go for speeding. Tim comes out just ahead of Diego Flores, who's just ahead of Max Mulder. So as we was pretty much, but Richie Michelle gained a couple of tenths over Max, like you said, in the pit lane. Dennis Hansen now up to P6. He jumped Borough Bex down, and Borough Bex has got a lapped Mirko Richie in front of him.
Yeah, Max is going to be cautious now, though, with Diego Flores in front of him with his internet. He's going to be really cautious to try and pass that Porsche. Diego is going to try and race him, but Max down the inside, looking to get the job done. And Diego is staying to the outside, and obviously with that internet issue, he's been fair and allowed Max Mulder the space and room to race. And Stiz now into the pits.
Yeah. What's left? Just under 5 minutes left of the pit window. We got Daze DJ, Cranky and Jackal left to pit. Diego comes in now himself. So for Max Mulder, we get to see what the gap will be between him and Tim Venting. It was obviously 5-something seconds. It's now down to 4. So Max has been able to pull a bit of time back over the pit stop of Tim. But only that 1 second. And Tim, who's Max just come out behind now, is that John Andrews who's just come out of the pits? Yep, but blue flags. So John Andrews should, when he gets given them, none from that marshal post there, should then be given that blue flag to come out of the way. But that's another marshal's post, no blue flags. And still not seeing any from the marshals around the circuit here. And Max not close enough just yet. He's now started to flash the lights to John Andrews, but still the marshals posts are not waving the blue. There's the first one. John Andrews stops. Oh, Max is driven into the back of him.
Oh, no, no, no.
And it's similar, Dan. I tell you what, that is so similar to the Tim Ventic Dean Wysocki one last week. where John Andrews stays wide of the corner, on the brakes for the corner, and Max drives into the back of him, has the whole inside line to lap him. It is very similar to the Tim Ventic Dean Wasocki one last time out, but that has put Richie Michel right on the back of Max Mulder.
Max has got front end damage as well, but the problem that's the issue with this one, I feel, is that John just came to a sudden stop. He didn't allow Max to actually have time to get underneath him. He just came to an abrupt stop.
Yeah, that's I think what it's going to be in the steward's room, isn't it? Is how much did John Andrews stop? Where did Max Mulder turn in? You know, where was it on the track? Obviously, we're going to get a better view from their angles than what we see on the TV cameras. So, yeah, going to be an interesting one, but it's going to be another one for the stewards to look at. Max Mulder going to be in the steward's room tonight. You imagine he's the one who's going to be raising that incident. Justin Winters behind Cranky Duckhead so far on the circuit. Cranky and the Jackal left, the only two left to pit. Romeo's on the back of Darren Bell. That's pretty close. Romeo's had good pace, but for that drive-through penalty, it's really ruined his race. And he's now looking racy on the back of the McLaren of Darren Bell. Justin Winter as well, looking up the inside now of Cranky Duckhead. It's just a look, nothing more than that at the time being. And what we've got left, we've got just under 25 minutes left in this race, and Cranky Duckhead now comes into the pit lane.
So Richie Michel now passing Max Mulder. He's now up into second place. And Max obviously going to be suffering with that front end damage. So he's just got to, now Max, this is where his championship is got to be key. He now realizes, okay, I've got damage to the car and Richie Michel's passed. What do I do now? Do I hustle and try and pass this Ferrari, or do I just sit and take third place? Because if it was me, I'd be sitting there and just taking
third place. Yeah, 100%. You've got to start having a champion's drive. Max, let's not forget, is a one-time champion at SimPlay Motorsport. He won the last season of Pro-Am on Project Cars 2. He's won a championship before. He's got to engage his brain and think, right, third place is better than first place. He doesn't want to cause any more carnage. He's already going to possibly be in the steward's room for that incident with Argent, provided Argent puts the ticket in. So there's already question marks of race one. He does not need any more question marks over the second race of the evening, especially with penalty points looming. He's on 4 penalty points as it is. That's then close to a quali ban. So you've got to think, Dan, championship in mind. Well, what? This is round 16 of 24. So next week, 17 and 18, 19, 20. What we got left? 4 tracks left after this? 5 tracks?
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
He's got to think as well, we're going to circuits that are going to be tight and twisty. So even if he does manage to get away with this one, he goes to Watkins Glen, and that's probably the only circuit you could probably do decent overtaking, and then back again to Valencia. Zandvoort and Zolder are very difficult circuits to overtake. Yes, it's one of his home circuits, but he's got to play the long game now. He's got to play it smart.
Yeah, but again, you say Zandvoort home circuit, yeah, fair enough, but let's go back to the Kieran Argent incident. Impatient.
Romeo
tapped
and
Argent.
Darren Bell, by the way, going at it.
Currently watching that on stream. He tapped Argent into the wall on the pit lane. Zandvoort's even tighter than this place. Ball the start line. There isn't really anywhere to overtake. So a bad race there, and all of a sudden, you know, creeps back in again. So it's going to be, Dan, a case of let's see who does what. I thought Romeo would tap the back of Darren Bell there, but the Porsche gets alongside the McLaren then, and knock that straight line speed of the Porsche. It's normally being left for dead, and now he's going to come down the inside line. Darren Bell on the outside, the Porsche of Romeo going up the inside, and Bell chops the nose off once again on Romeo, and they both make it through turn 1 unscathed.
Yeah, the more and more these two fight, though, more and more Paul Williams will be interested to get involved. And I think right now Max is kind of just sitting there behind Richie Michel and thinking, if you make a mistake, then yes, I will gain advantage, but I'm not doing any hard work right now. I'm just going to sit and be patient in this third place position. That's what he really needs to do.
It's all he really needs to do, and it's all he looks like he's going to do at the moment. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a bad one for him so far then, as they come through. And Senna, just to let you know, would gain 62 points tonight because his drop score will now go to 0. Obviously these boys get an extra week of drop score due to Cota not counting. That's not bad for Senna, to be fair, gaining that 62 points. It's not a bad drop score to gain, really, is it? 62. When you look at others on average, you look at his scores on average, a high score of 78 and a lowest score of 62 now, that's not overly that bad.
No, it's not, but we'll see what happens later on in the season. We've still got a lot of races to go yet, and circuits that are going to be even more tight and twisty and difficult to overtake. So as Romeo really pushing the back end of that McLaren now, I think Romeo has been in the back of a McLaren more than any other car, and it's surprising coming from a Porsche, and he's looking to make the move before he even gets down the straight.
He is looking to make the move on the McLaren. The Porsche looking absolutely fantastic. It's going to be an interesting one to see as they come down the straight again. Romeo looking to pull to that inside line, but doesn't at the moment. And this is going to be an interesting one to see as they come down to turn 1. Bell now comes right across the track. Can move back to the braking zone. That's completely allowed. He leaves him the car's width. And Romeo just braking earlier, taking a wider line to try and turn in and get that undercut. Doesn't work for him there. And away they go once again. Good evening to the Chaos Druid in the chat. Hope you're all well, buddy. As they come down in towards turn 2. Darren Bell just able to get that traction and exit out of turn 1 that just gapped him and Romeo a little bit. So we're seeing this Porsche stand tonight in Romeo's hands. Good in the straight line. Good through the middle sector. This is where he needs to be at the moment. Max Mulder's now 1.1 behind Richie Michel. Still crucially 17.5 seconds clear than Dennis Hansen. Any other fights on circuit? Yes. Sam on the back of Mark Tucker. No. As we change to that, Sam is in front of Mark Tucker, so we can go back to this Darren Bell Romeo fight at the moment. If you are enjoying the stream, as PN Motorsport says so in the chat, make sure you leave a like and hit the bell to be notified, and hit that big red subscribe button if you are new. We are live tomorrow night 8 PM GMT +1 for the pros around Hungaroring. Dan will be on the circuit. I'll be in the box with PM Motorsport himself, bringing you all the action if you like that as well. Next week it is GT4s on Tuesday. Dan Davis will be back in the box with myself on the circuit for Watkins Glen. We go stateside for the final time this season. Me and Dan will be back live next Wednesday, and myself and PN back live on Thursday. If you enjoy any of the action here as well and want to get involved, make sure you join our Discord. Link is in the description, or is in on the YouTube profile. If you press on the profile, there's a little bit on the banner that takes you to Discord. If the link isn't working, please let us know and we will try and post it for you. Join the SimGrid. Link's also on there for the Discord as well. Sign up on the SimGrid if you want to get involved with stewarding, commentating, or want to be a driver. Make sure you join our Discord and follow what you want to do. The Chaos, couldn't disagree about Zandvoort. Just raced around there myself. Just one start line, very tight, twisty circuit. I hope your race went very well though, buddy.
Indeed, and another close fight at the minute is Dennis Hansen, and S2M Borobex has brought that gap back down. I'm not sure what happened to S2M Borobex. He was in front of Dennis Hansen.
He jumped in the pits, I believe, Dan.
Yeah, so maybe he had a mistake or an off on his own, but yeah, it looks like S2M Borobex is on the move now.
Great to see Borobex have a great race. Do you know one thing I'm going to mention? I don't think we've said it yet. We've seen Eckel and I believe Lund and Hansen come in. 3 Danish drivers. They've been brilliant since coming in this season, haven't they?
Yeah, they've been brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, and, sorry, Dan. Hansen's wide. Carry on.
But he's still clean, he's still fair, and he's gone a little bit wide. And Hansen now side by side with S2M Borobex. It's McLaren versus McLaren. There's a car in the pit lane by the looks of things.
That's Mirko Ricci, who looks like then he's probably
and S2M Borobex on the inside of turn 1. He's going to try and get the job done. Into the corner he goes, and there he's back up into 4th place. I say that, he's dropped the rear, and Dennis Hansen's coming back around the outside. He should have the inside for the next corner, but he hasn't quite got enough of an overlap, and S2M Borobex gets the position back. He's back up to 4th.
He is back up to 4th. Great racing. That to me then is Mirko Ricci's had a big one, because the only time a yellow flag is caused like that is if you return to the pit lane from the circuit. Now he'll have to get back out on track to finish this race, otherwise he will not be able to score points. Did the Jackal pit? Yes, he did. Next question, says the Chaos Druid in the chat. Tell us how it went. Go on, let us know how your race went. But Borobex ahead of Dennis Hansen. Great scrap here. Romeo still with an attempt. He's looking to the outside of turn 1, and again just cannot get the traction. Don't think Dennis changed tyres, said Richard Beasley. Interesting. Did the others then? Because that may prove why Borobex looks like he's got better performance. Because look, Dennis was wide at the last corner. He was wide through that section, and Borobex has dropped him down.
Yeah, he's just struggling for grip now, isn't he? If that's the case.
If that is the case, Dan's catching his 40 winks there, and been under the weather as our Daniel. Hopefully he'll be recovered, ready for tomorrow night.
Yeah, not Yeah, not feeling great, but you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is. 24th out of 28th. Well, there we go, Chaos. What car do you drive on ACC? Are you PC? Are you console? Let us know in the chat. Romeo still on the back of Darren Bell. Must be getting bored of seeing the back of McLaren's tonight, because he was behind Burrow-Bex and Hansen wasn't he early on. Now he's back behind here. Paul Williams isn't too far in the background. No real other fights to talk about out there at the moment. Max is now 3 seconds behind, but is gapped Burrow-Bex. Has Burrow-Bex got time to pull down nearly 19 seconds?
No, I don't think so. Max has got this pretty much in hand, unless he has a massive off or a mistake. Dennis Hansen hasn't really dropped him. He's still within a second of him. So, if anything, Esteban Burrow-Bex wants to make sure he stays in front.
We'll keep our eyes on the gap between Burrow-Bex and Hansen towards Max, but Hansen definitely lost time over Max. He drives the Hurricane Evo 2 and on the PlayStation. Drive-through penalty for Cranky Duckhead, track limits. We've seen a few drive-through and stop-goes tonight, Dan. A couple for speed and a couple for track limits. Well, there you go. Chaos Druid, if you want to get involved here at SimPlay on the PS. We are a cross-play community. Get yourself on the Discord. And take a look at what we have to offer GT4s on a Tuesday, and depending on your hot stints, Pro on a Wednesday, Pro on a Thursday. Got to be quick, though, because what is there left on the calendar? I did just look. I think there's 4 tracks left after this. Walton, 2, 3, 4. So next week is the last week we're taking on... Valencia. Next week's last week we're taking on drivers, because obviously after that, the rule at SimPlay is we don't want anybody coming in them last 3 rounds and disturbing that championship battle.
Obviously, you can still join the Discord and get involved and sign up to the Endurance Championship as well. We still have the Endurance one as well. Obviously, a lot of the guys... there's a bit of a break between the Endurance racing. I may have also possibly arranged a charity event at some point, which I need to speak to Matthew about. But... but nonetheless, get involved. Possibly, depending on, depending if we get a plan together, maybe a company might be involved in helping us out.
Well, keep your eyes out on the social media then for any of that. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, which we don't really use, and even give us a follow on TikTok. Good evening to Tracy in the chat. Romeo's just dropped off the back a little bit. Max Mulder still 3 seconds off the back of Richie Michel. Tim dominated this race, really been comfortable. Max gave him early pressure, but really Tim pretty solid tonight, and is going to take Ferrari's 25th win.
He is indeed, and there's going to be a 1-2 Ferrari as it stands at the minute. So Richie Michel, I really have to compliment on his race too. He's really given it to Max and Tim. Yes, Tim's disappeared into the distance, but earlier on he was giving him a bit of a headache, and here he is giving him more pressure towards the end, and Max cracked under the pressure. His car did not look right, did it? Although he has just gained a bit of time over Richie Michel, just gained just under a second. Don't buckle now, Richie. It looks like Romeo now has actually dropped off the back of Darren Bell, so possibly the Porsche's peaked now. If anything, the next closest fight is Sam and John Goudet, who's about to get lapped by Tim Venting.
They are about to get lapped by Tim Venting, and Sam, who's had a decent pace, if it wasn't for that stop-go, would probably be up the order a little more. He was on the back of Kieran Argent. Where is Argent? He's 7th after the pit stops. Pretty respectful night for Argent, I suppose. The 2nd in race 1, great result, and 7th place. It's been pretty much where Argent's kind of been nibbling at all season, hasn't he? That top 10 sort of back end of the top 10 sort of area, isn't it?
Yeah, I do think the Mustang hasn't really helped him this season. I know it's a brand new car, but it's probably hampered him, if anything.
I know we've said that Argent, new to the PS5 this year, jumped straight in, did his hot stint in the Merc, jumped straight for the Mustang. Do we feel that with the Mustang, for this season especially, for the drivers that have picked it, because there is so little information on the Mustang, obviously each week that goes by there is going to be someone out there on the internet that will get more and more information on this car. Do we think though that it was a kind of a choice of maybe for next season, going into season 6, the Mustang might be a car of choice, the BOP, more information about it, but for Kieran, obviously that unknown, worth the risk? Would you say at this stage of the season, would you say that's been worth the risk for Kieran?
I mean, it's his first time back in the PS5 league, so to him it's really done no damage, but on the other hand, he's probably driven a car that's not his driving style. I would say he was probably better off sticking to the Bentley and getting used to the BOP and everything.
if I was to compare, let me throw this one at you then, Dan. If
Romeo's
we look
right back behind Darren Bell once again.
If we look at Argent over Smokey, over Ramy Fernie. Ramy, a guy that's driven that BMW, has been successful in the BMW. The Mustang hasn't been for Ramy. Argent, unknown to all cars. You can kind of see why Argent's gone for over an experienced driver on the PS5 like Ramy.
Yeah, I just think the Mustang is just a weird car at the minute. It's very good in a straight line. We've just not had the circuits for the Mustang, but we came into the season not knowing how the Mustang was going to be, and after the first race we were like, okay, this thing is strong in a straight line at Snat, and ever since then it's just struggled everywhere because the calendar is not suited the
who got the
Mustang.
podium for the Mustang, and where? Was it Gomez in Pro-Am got a podium in the Mustang? He did. Second race. Red Bull.
I don't think a Mustang in Pro.
Mustang in Pro's done nothing. No. But Red Bull Ring, probably the circuit this season for the Mustang.
Yeah. I mean, if Monza was on the calendar, you would bet the Mustang to win.
Justin Winter has got a bit of lag. He is disappearing all over the place behind. Ping looks good on the server, but he is disappearing behind Brian Craig. That has dropped him off the back of Brian Craig. Romeo not on the back either. Mirko Ricci still stationary in the pits. That's looked like that could go down as a retirement. He's been in there 7 minutes. So that could be a retirement in a qualifying run. And I'm not sure how many retirements he's had, because don't forget the drivers are getting close now. 2-3 retirements. And if you have 3 retirements, that is minus 25 points in your Drivers' Championship, because we do encourage all drivers to finish the races. And if I just look at the retirement count, that would be his third, so that would be minus 25 for him and minus 25 on the team's points then. And if we look at that championship, they're in a scrap. They're only 20 points clear of Stage 2 Motorsport of Borough Becks and P. Williams. That'd drop them behind them, given tonight's results possibly as well. And for Mirko Ricci, that'd drop him behind Naval Gomez, even though he's not turned up. That'd drop him behind DJ Phil. They'd drop him behind Mark Tucker, drop him behind Michael, and possibly even Dean.
Yeah, Darren Bell's starting to struggle quite a bit now. Romeo's all over the back of him, but every time Romeo gets close, he then has a little bit of a wobble at this stage. So these two really pushing Sam. Meanwhile, he's still under some pressure from... No, he's jumped John Goudet now. So John Goudet has dropped behind Sam.
Romeo's got through! Romeo's just got up the inside, coming through the onto towards the back sector, and now Darren Bell's going to try and have a look back up the inside of Romeo. Up the inside he goes, but I believe Romeo's possibly changed tyres over Darren Bell as Darren Bell pushed his tyres too hard. Romeo's got the inside line, they bump shoulders there, and Romeo up the inside, easy as a light, through he goes. Sam has got past John Goudet, as you said, but Romeo now, Romeo done, as they say on Gavin and Stacey, a programme here in the United Kingdom. He's got past Darren Bell.
Yep, next closest fight is probably John Andrews attacking the Cranky Dughead by the list of things, and the Jackal would have been in this fight, but he's 2 laps down behind them, sadly. Yeah, that's a close fight to keep an eye on later. As Darren Bell's dropped it! Darren Bell's dropped it and hit the front end of his car. Paul Williams will be liking the sight of that, and a bit of damage to the front end of his car by the looks of things for Darren Bell. Meanwhile, your top 3, Tim Venting way out in front at the minute with a comfortable lead ahead of Richie Michelle, who comes across the line now, and I will see the split between them is 15.9, so Tim's pretty much got this race underhand. Max is 5 seconds behind him, with Esther Burbex in 4th and Dennis Hansen in 5th. Robert's actually catching Dennis Hansen now. He's not a million miles
I think
away from
RB's
him.
right, you know, Dan. I think Dennis's tyres may have gone in this race. I think RB was right in the chat because, yeah, an interesting one. It was Hansen looked good, and all of a sudden this back end of the race, he's just dropped off. Dean being a bit of a nuisance for Robert Smith. Diz, by the way, from the back of the grid, P8 driving a stellar race. He's only 3.6 off of Argent, so maybe one more place to gain.
Yeah, possibly so. If Argent keeps having Larry moments, then Diz might be able to get onto the back of him. But I think Robert is on the attack of Dennis Hansen, and Dennis Hansen is struggling for grip.
Yeah, I would agree with you at the moment, Dan. I think that is a fair one to say. Dennis Hansen. Let's just watch him through a couple of corners here at the moment, because I think you are bang on and absolutely right. He just looks like he's not under... I say not under control, not comfortable in that car. All fine through turn 4. Now, one thing I noticed at turn 4 in the Ginetta last night, you can run a lot of that inside curb. tip for you tomorrow night, that, yeah.
I'm already doing that, thank you very
Oh,
much.
I'll lay off then. I was giving you a friendly tip. You can also run a lot of the second chicane curb here. I don't know if you're doing that one in your Lamborghini.
Yeah, I am.
Right, well done.
Yeah. You're talking to
Saw my
Jam
tips.
here, mate.
Yeah, saw my tips. You're fine. I just from driving this track Tuesday. So,
I mean, to be fair, Janetta and I mean,
with one car that's a lot
Janetta to
quicker.
Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, how many? What's the statistics for against you and me?
We'd have to go off the percentage-wise because I've done a lot less races than you. So we'd have to look at percentage.
No, around this circuit.
Oh, around this circuit, you've got 1 pole, 3 wins to my 1 win.
There you go. So I think I know how to drive this.
I won a championship around this circuit, buddy. Though, thank you very much.
I want to race in the Razzia.
Yeah, fair one. I'll let you have that one. Yeah, I'll let you have that. Right, moving on. Dennis Hansen. Yeah, it looks like he's struggling for grip a little bit. But Justin Winters back within 7/10 of Brian Craig. At the time being, going to keep our eyes on that gap. Robert Smith to Dennis, that's 3.2. Going to keep my eyes on Diz to Kieran, that's 3.8 currently. They are coming towards the start line though to maybe start their next lap. Up to 4.6. Maybe Arjit's just got the legs. Justin Winters though, currently within 7/10 of Brian Craig at this stage of the race. Looks like he's got some good pace at the minute.
He has indeed, and trying to attack now the McLaren and Justin Winter. Bit of a weird night for him, hasn't it? Looked strong in race 1, and then just race 2, just I don't know, it just doesn't seem to be anywhere. Yeah,
doesn't seem to be anywhere. He's gone very deep there, nearly into the back of Brian Craig. And it was weird because the good result in race 1 was with a lot of damage on the front of that car. The bonnet sort of slightly lifted, so strange to see. Cranky Duckhead's pulled away from John Andrews. He's got Romeo about to lap DJ Phil. And Cranky Duckhead resumes his fight with DJ Phil then. So this is going to be an interesting one.
It is indeed. I think it's the closest fight at the minute. Dennis Hansen has changed tyres. So he has. So is it now then? Sam, meanwhile, has passed Diego Flores. He's now up into 15th. Now, and John Goudet not really gone with him either. So has Dennis Hansen just maybe got the pressures wrong? He's actually catching S2M Borobeck's back up. He's 1.9 now to S2M Borobeck's.
What do we know?
Robert Smith's been dropped.
What do we know in the commentary box? Cranky Duckhead looking all over the back of DJ Phil. DJ defending at the minute. I noticed over this season DJ Phil has dropped the wheel. He's abandoned the steering wheel, which he was using at the start of the season, gone back to the pad. And yeah, this one of the closest fights on the circuit at the moment. These have been fighting quite a lot today. Honda could come back into it with a bot next year. That could be an interesting look at a car choice. We obviously see Insert Coin in the Pro Series look pretty comfortable. And the Bentley could be back. That could be another interesting choice there for them cars.
Possibly the Lexus.
Yeah. Who knows? It's going to be an interesting
Mercedes.
one. Audi.
We haven't seen the Mercedes. No, not the Audi. The Audi's terrible.
Oh, let's see. Let's wait and see. Who knows what will happen? Cranky Duckhead then is still on the back of DJ Phil. Honda versus Lamborghini Evo 2. Cranky Duckhead very, very wide.
Not going to get the job done there, mate.
No,
you're not. On circuit.
That's possibly a track limit warning, and you will not probably want a couple more of them. But yeah, just a quiet back off this race. We're into the final 2 minutes 41. Where's Tim on the circuit? Just started lap, so probably this lap and one more. As John Andrews now into the pit lane.
So John Andrews suffering more problems, maybe low on fuel. Maybe that's why he's pitted, but yeah, Dennis Hansen was gaining on S2M Borobeck's. That gap's opened up again by the looks of things. But yeah, a bit of ebb and flow in here as we see that the chaos the chaos droid has now joined the Discord. So thank you for joining the Discord and get yourself signed up, and yeah, we'll possibly see you out on track anytime soon. But Dennis Hansen has brought the gap down again now, to S2M Borobeck's.
The Jackal is now on the same lap as John Andrews, I do believe. Let me just take a look at the time. Just load the timetable up and just tell me how many laps they've done each. I think the Jackal, as he comes towards that line, will then be on the same lap as John Andrews and will then pass him in the pitch. John is not yet moving. The Jackal is halfway around this circuit. John Andrews is now moving, so ignore that because the Jackal is going to be nowhere near him. Cranky Duckhead, though, looking to the outside. They've got the train of D. Bell, Paul Williams and Michael coming towards them to put a lap. And this could be a long train of cars coming up to lap DJ Phil and Cranky Duckhead at this stage of the race. And DJ Phil, you can't come across anymore because Cranky Duckhead's already got alongside you and he backed out of that one. Cranky to the pit wall, down the start straight Cranky goes, probably not got the straight line speed of DJ Phil, but has got alongside enough to go up the inside. DJ Phil has to take a wide berth. Cranky, was he confident enough? DJ ran a little wide over the curb. Don't think he's got an outside enough. He has, but he's going to be on the outside for the next part of the lap. Tim is on the final lap of this race. A DJ Phil, pushes John Andrews just off the track as he outbraked himself. Cranky Duckhead, sorry.
Yeah, DJ Phil being really feisty here, and now we're starting to get some lap runners here coming through, and one of them is Darren Bell, who's in his fight against Paul Williams, who's got Michael right behind him. Yeah, and there's also Tim Ventink is in the middle of this as well. Tim would not want to trip over these lot, as he should just follow them. He should not really try and lap any of them.
With the gap he's got, bring the car home. Let these lot have their fight, let these lot have their battle. If you're Darren Bell, on the other hand, move out the way. Oh, Phil! Has he been tapped by Cranky? And into Bell!
Oh, my God.
And that is exactly the problem. That was exactly the problem right there. I think Cranky tapped the back of DJ into that of Darren Bell. What a night. And if you look at this, Tim, he's not flashing his lights. He's not overly bothered. He's letting Michael and Paul Williams possibly have an extra lap to go at it here. Sam's now on the back of Darren Bell. That's going to be all she wrote, though, for them two, unless Sam can get past in a few moments' time. But for Tim Ventink, it is going to be another race win in this championship and another lot of points he's going to pull from his teammate Max Mulder. He comes to the line. He's going to take Ferrari's 25th win. Tim Ventink wins here with the fastest lap. Richie Michel looks like it's going to be a comfortable P2 for him in this one. Thoroughly deserved. He has drove a stellar race tonight in this second one. What did he do? Race 1, 21st, not the best one, but P2 for Richie Michel in this one. Max Mulder's going to come across for a comfortable P3. Darren Bell down the order has finished in 14th place. Sam did finish in 15th. As Richie Michel comes to the line, then we wait for S2M Borough Bex. Diego Flores come across the line, P16. John Gooday, P17. Not the night for him at all. S2M Borough Bex going to come across for P4. Great result for him. Dennis Hansen will take that of P5. Then it's going to be Robert Smith. Not a bad night for Robert Smith, P6. Kieran Argent, who I think one of the contenders for me for driver of the day, P7. Great night from him. Diz could have been better, P8. Brian Craig a little bit further back at the moment before he takes the line. That's going to be P9 for him, ahead of Justin Winter, who was P10. Romeo's a little further back as well. So DJ Phil, where did he finish? That was 18th for DJ Phil. In the end, Cranky looks like he let DJ Phil back through, Dan, because Cranky finishing behind that of DJ Phil in this one. At the minute, Mirko Ricci did finish. Romeo gets 11th place, and Paul Williams on the defensive going into that final corner. The Nissan just not got enough to get alongside, so I reckon Paul Williams is going to take that P12. He will do it at the line. That is a great result for Paul Williams in this one. And we just got a look. Dean in this race down in 19th place. Mirko Ricci 24th, but a lot of laps down, did not make the three-quarter distance, so that will probably be his third retirement. The Cranky Duckhead 21st. Jack will come across for 23rd. And then down the order, who was the other driver that I didn't have in? John Andrews, 22nd in this one. Right, we'll let the drivers come in for a quick interview. We didn't get Richie Michel in last time. I don't think his English is the best. Dan, I'm going to take a look at the drop scores. I will let you do the interviews.
As we do have Max Mulder joining us on cue there. And Max, Two races tonight, both podiums once again, and race 2 that probably was a bit more dramatic than the first one.
Yeah, I got the pace, but I made a mistake and spun the car into the wall, and that lost some pace. And then I think I hit
Green light. Go.
Andrews. It was my fault. I was not paying attention enough, and then it was basically a race over. So I let the Ferrari and P3 pass me. So maybe he can fight them, but he also was not able to.
Obviously, it's getting to the point at the end of the season where it's going to be more about getting the points instead of trying to get race wins. Is that what is your aim going to start being? It's like, so I'll be a bit more conservative on just trying to get this championship secure, because it looks like your teammate is going to be your threat for the championship.
Yeah, it's good for him that he can fight for the championship. I don't really see any teamwork at the moment anymore. So it's just everyone for their own.
Which we love to hear. No team rules in play, which is great to see. Gloves off. We head to Watkins Glen, the next race of the season, the last American circuit we go to. Obviously, we had a brief chat yesterday in the GT4s. How do you think you're going to get on with the McLaren there, and are you just going to keep the momentum up and stay ahead of your teammate?
Yeah, I hope I can score some solid points there. Looks like a good track to have some fun battles, so looking forward to it.
Well, nonetheless, mate, congratulations on the win earlier on and also on the 3rd place.
Thank you.
And we go to Max's teammate, Tim Ventig, who takes another win, takes the 25th win for Ferrari here. And congratulations, Tim. Race 1 was kind of just throw it in the bag and don't really ever look at it again. But race 2, much stronger, pretty much again, lights to flag for you. Pretty easy race for you in the end.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for congratulations. It was a pretty good race. I obviously really want to win because race 1. First couple of laps, it was a fun battle with my teammate. And after that, it was just straight ahead.
Obviously, quick words from Max. He says team orders are out the window. It is just a gloves off fight between you two. Are you two going to be going into this as hard as you possibly can, and now possibly the championship is on the cards here? Are you going to give it everything to Max?
Well, he's still obviously my teammate. I was quite mad because of race 1, so in my opinion, the team play isn't really out the window, but I obviously want to win the championship, but in a good way.
Obviously, next track is Watkins Glen. Like I think you said last night, you've not really ever driven it. Again, pretty much going into it blind. A lot of laps will get under your belt once the pro's done. And how are you going to try and get on there? Like I said, just doing laps and seeing how you get on?
I'm just going to do my best. And I hope the track fits me.
Well, nonetheless, mate, congratulations on the race win. And we'll see you in a week's time.
See you next week.
There you go. There's your top 2. Oh, well, 1st and 3rd, and sound pretty happy. Gloves off, Matthew, between these two. It is all on for cards here, and I think Tim's got a lot of work to do, but if Max keeps having little mistakes here and there, it could possibly be close when it comes to Valencia.
Well, this is it, the 110-point gap Max has over Tim, but in between them, it is Diz, 102.5 points behind Max Mulder, 2nd place from Tim in 3rd. John Goodey back down to 4th, 144.5 points behind. Race 2 has really knocked him here. Richie Michelle, P5. Richie Michelle's reclosed that gap back up to John Goodey. Justin Winter, P6 with Esteban Burbeck's in 7th. Brian Craig is 8th with Robert Smith from Sam rounding out the top 10. Paul Williams from Dennis Hansen is P11 and 12. Hansen gaining on the back of Paul Williams. Kieran Argent trying to gain on the back of them too as well. He's P13 from Diego Flores. Senna Herwijger P15. He gained 62 points thanks to the drop score system. Darren Bell P16 from Cranky Duckhead. In 17th, Michael P18 in his Nissan. He's just behind Cranky Duckhead in the points. DJ Phil's just behind him with Mark Tucker on 191 points. 1.5 points behind DJ Phil. Mirko Ritchie, 3rd retirement to his name. That'll obviously be investigated and looked at, but that could be a minus 25 points, which will put him on to 160. That would put him back down to 25th behind that. Down to 24th behind Dean and Fat Bloke. Then comes Graham with John Andrews. Lund, Micro J's, also, by the way, from Graham down, cannot win the championship. So Graham, John Andrews, Lund, Micro J's, the Jackal, Dean Wasocki, Andrew Taylor, Romeo, Nuke Quaist, Oliver and MB Pitts cannot win the championship. Constructors, well, 259.5 points clear all the BSP Racing lads from the Greasy Bandits Racing boys, who pretty much look like they're going to get second place dead set. Richie Corsa third place, but with that points loss, they're only 10 clear of Stage 2 Motorsport. That's going to hurt them massively, potentially on Mirko Ritchie's retirement. Team Merlo P5 from Team FBR, the FSO Junior Racing team, a couple of points behind FBR. Retroactive Racing as well, they are narrowing that gap to P7. Forever Forward, the top independent team, with Cool Shop Racing P10, Vorta Racing P11, Greasy Bandits Racing Juniors P12. Ferrari's 25th race win. Tim Venting as well makes himself tied with you, I suppose, in terms of 4 things around the Hungaroring. You've got 3 wins to 1 pole. He's got 2 poles and 2 wins, but you can add to your tally tomorrow night, which if you want to watch Dan Davis out there on the circuit with the pro boys like Gary Leach, Mike Matthews, Overtaker and Eckholt and the rest, it's going to be an interesting one out there, to say the least. 8 p.m. GMT +1, myself and PN Motorsport will be live with all the action. Dan will be back in the box, not for an interview potentially, but for the commentary wise on Tuesday night for GT4s at Watkins Glen. And myself and Dan, the dream team, Sweet and Sticky Junior, in your box next Wednesday night at 8 p.m. GMT +1. You know.
No, I don't. No, do not call me that.
But you are your dad's
Definitely.
junior.
No, I'm not.
No, okay.
I'm better.
Okay. We'll be back in the box next Wednesday evening for Watkins Glen. With this championship, Dan, you want to say Max is looking comfortable with a 102.5 point gap, but mistakes creeping in tonight. The incident with Argent and then his own mistakes race 2.
Anything can happen in this championship, you know that, and I think so does Max. So it's all to play for, I think, still. And we'll see when we go to Watkins Glen. Driver of the day, voted by the fans, has gone the way of Esteban Borobex. The 4 nominees was Esteban Borobex, Tim, Max and Argent, and pretty much went to Esteban Borobex. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to give it to Esteban Borobex as well. Solid drive from him, and yeah, I'm going to go Esteban Borobex as well. Brilliant recovery drive race 1 and a solid drive race 2. Honourable mention though to Tim and Max, as always. They're just brilliant drivers. But also to Argent, I think to get that Mustang 2nd and 7th, fantastic night's worth of racing for Argent in that one as well. But that's all we have time for. Like we said, join myself and PM Motorsport tomorrow night 8 p.m. GMT +1. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and the bell to be notified, as well as subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to get involved in any action, whether it's stewarding, admin work, anything, or you want to become a race driver here at SimPlay Motorsport, join the Discord or go to SimGrid and follow us through there on Discord as well. Everything is done through the Discord, so even if you do find us through SimGrid, make sure you're in our Discord and follow the steps there. We have plenty of drivers that join events but aren't on Discord, so do not get to take part in the events, so make sure you're on Discord. Any help needed, speak to myself, Dan Davis, Unorthodox 16, his name is on there, Hypertech, and Mike Matthews, Peaceful Explosion. They are the admins who will guide you through any help you need, or ask in the general chats. A lot of people in our community also like to help out as well. Next week's the final week to take drivers on for GT3s anyway. GT4's another question, but there is always the next season around the corner, and you have that bonus of the calendar could drop at any moment, so keep your eyes out on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, on that social media platform, because I believe now, Dan, all tracks have been used, so it could just be a free-for-all on the wheel of names. If you want to play it that way, Matt, then go for it. But
yes!
We've got all cars except for the Nordschleife.
Obviously.
But we'll save that for a charity event. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the calendar next season. But until then, Matt's already too eager. We've only just got past the halfway point, and he wants to start a calendar already. So
no, I'm just saying, keep your eyes, follow us on social media. It could drop any time. You never know. Might take people's fancy, but hey, let's see what happens. As well, keep your eyes out for any events that may be happening during that off-season. Obviously, we're 4 weeks from the end of the season, so charity events or other events may pop up. Just keep your eyes out for them on the Discord and social media. as well. That's all we have time for, Dan. Great night at Hungaroring once again. Your turn tomorrow night. And then we head stateside for the final time before going to Zolder. I want to say your favourite place to be with me. I'm just going to confirm that. No, before we go to Zandvoort, then Zolder, and then end that season on the 21st of August at Valencia. Obviously, as well, if you're interested in endurance racing, get yourself a teammate. Sign up to the endurance event, because at the end of the season, I think 2 weeks after the end of the season, is the third round of the endurance season in September at Spa. So you will not want to miss that one, as well as the endurance season's coming to an end with 2 races left. That's all we have time for tonight. Dan, pleasure as always. I look forward to the next one.
That's me, and I look forward to seeing all you guys once again on track, and let's see if I can survive the Hungaroring, as we'll catch you all in tomorrow night with Matt and PN.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
And we are clear.
You really threw me out then. I was like, what? I'm pretty sure I've done my chat now.
Well, I wanted to make you chat again.
Oh, great.
Why does that still say pull record? I don't think that saved properly.